Greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Um, y'all know we usually don't go live on Fridays, but I've been a little busy lately. So I'm taking the opportunity to go live tonight. We've had a long debate on a Twitter thread that I posted about reparations. Um, Man, that joint been going for about 3 days now, maybe even 4. And we have some people on who are, I'm going to say they're anti-reparations. One guy on believes, I think I'll give him a chance to introduce himself, but I believe he's against the idea that reparations should be given because of the racial wealth gap or something to that effect. I'll let him explain. Share the video out, family. Click the like button. I see the BTP mods is in the building. Friedman are on deck. Peace, Sister Riri. Peace, Brother Corey. If you are not subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button and hit that little bell icon next to it to become a part of the notification nation so that you will know when we are going live. We got BTP, Josh in the building. The Friedman are on deck. So let's get this thing going. So Brother Noni, I want to start with you. If you could just give a brief introduction and tell the people why. I don't want it to be too long. I want to move on to the next guest, and then we could get right into the debate. But tell the people why you feel the way you feel about reparations. I believe some of your earlier comments from a few days ago was that it wasn't going to happen. I'm paraphrasing. I mean, there's so many comments I've been reading through. So just give a little brief on where you stand, a little introduction. Tell people about a little bit about yourself. Peace to all the fam that's in the building. Yeah. Let me see if I can unmute you. All right, there you go.
All right, we're good?
Yep, we good.
Okay. So yeah, just Mr. Nani R on Twitter if anyone's interested in following me after this. But so that's my little short intro. So anyways, yeah, I'm against reparations. To me, it's simple. I can't get over the idea of paying to one person something that never happened to them from people who never did anything. Like, for me, that's like the bottom line. Like,
okay.
You weren't a slave, and these guys weren't slave masters. It don't make no sense to me. That's my bottom line.
Okay.
So wait. No, not that, Josh. We're gonna get to it. Let's let GLMJ give his opening, his spiel, why he feels that the wealth gap shouldn't be. I don't know. I can't remember what he said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll just explain myself that reparations, or the purpose of reparations specifically, should be for a harm. It's a tort. It's like you don't. If someone harms you, you're entitled to compensation. You're not entitled to half their wealth. It's as simple as that. So you could say that there's the effect of the harm. If someone hits you with a car and breaks your arm, as a result you can't work, you're earning less, you're not entitled to whatever they're going to earn. You're entitled to redress. You're entitled to probably hopefully the society should be there to help you recover to the best of your ability. But the notion that the effect, the underlying effects, and the wealth as the basis for the compensation, if you want to say that, not to mention the argument about before, which is obviously it's not you personally, but we're talking about the descendants, which is another thing on top of it. But, so I guess that, like I said, that's pretty clear. So and like you said before, I don't buy any argument, for example, that if it's too costly or if it's never going to happen, those aren't really arguments at all. Those just admit the debt. Obviously, that's a case for the other side. That to say that it's just not feasible is to imply, implicitly, is to say implicitly that it needs to be paid. It's just not going to happen. But I deny that it actually needs to be paid in the fashion. Like, obviously, if money wants to get earmarked for specific people by the government, specific regions, could be majority black, doesn't matter. That's fine. It's another thing to say that, this has to keep happening until a certain population has the same aggregate amount of money per head.
Forever.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. So they're saying there could never ever be any wealth difference in perpetuity forever.
Okay.
Which makes no damn sense to me.
Okay, cool. Chill for a minute. We're gonna get to that. Before I bring Brother Josh on, I have one more question that's important because I want to know, and our listeners want to know. Starting with you, Noni, where are you from?
They want to know where I'm from?
Yes.
Why?
And so do I. Because this is an important question in the debate because we feel that people are interjecting themselves in an argument that's not even theirs. So, and we can hear a slight accent. So we're wondering where you're from, and we would like to know that.
Well, I mean, look, we're talking about something that's controversial. People don't want to hear it, so I'm not really trying to give up my location.
No, we're not trying to ask you to give up your location. We don't need your city, state coordinates. We need to know what is your background. Where are your parents from? Where are you from originally?
What country are you in America? Are you in America? Are you in a foreign country?
That's fine. Yeah, I'll speak for myself right away. Yeah, okay. I'm actually not American. I do have American siblings. I have American family.
So you're Canadian?
I am Canadian, yeah.
I can hear that. But Noni presents a conundrum of sorts to my ears because I'm trying to figure out, is he Caribbean? Is he where are you from, Noni?
I'm declining that.
Okay.
Hold on, bro.
Go ahead, Josh.
I got a problem with that, bro.
It's not relevant to anything.
No, it is relevant to everything.
It's very relevant. It's very relevant because we find that it's consistent that people who do not have the background where your people are paying the cost of it. You haven't felt the pain. You haven't had family members who have experienced the harms of the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow, who experience terrible things, including people getting killed, their land getting stolen, just disparaging things their whole lives in America. And
that's right.
People that it's serious family damage that's happened. So for you to be detached from that and to make an argument to where you talk about America, and I want to know if you're in America, because I want to know, have you experienced these things, or if you're just speaking from like a person that's looked on the outside in of America that's never experienced or haven't been educated about these things in America. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I say, where would I be from as a black man that wouldn't be my history? Now I'm saying
no, because Jim Crowism only have, we talking about American Jim Crowism. That didn't happen anywhere else other than America. So that's the point I'm trying to make.
Well, Jim Crow, but there was lots of other terrible systems that happened all around the world, including
Hold on. We are not speaking to those things because what happened over there does not affect us over here. It is just it's a red herring of sorts, and you're trying to throw into the argument. So we're gonna deal with America.
Yeah,
and what happened to my ancestors here. So this is why we're asking you the question, because it appears as if you're not from here, that your ancestors have not gone through the struggles that my ancestors have gone through, and that your argument is from a position of weakness.
Right.
It is political. If I'm not mistaken, it's political. You hit on all of the right-wing talking points that I hear from Candace Owens, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I'm gonna give you a chance to talk. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. So listen, wherever I'm from, there's no escaping it. So of course, I relate to this discussion anyways. I'm a black man. I relate to this discussion anyway.
Okay, so hold on.
My thing is, it's not.
Wait. Because I don't want to just keep cutting you off, but I gotta frame this, and I gotta keep this argument centered. I'm not from let's just say Haiti or Jamaica.
Right.
I'm from the United States of America.
Right.
My parents on both sides go back to South Carolina, right?
Okay.
I can't then say that the Caribbean community, an organization whose name is CARICOM, should be fighting for in their fight for reparations. I, as an American, shouldn't be able to dictate what goes on with Haiti and Jamaica, right? As an American, and if I was Haitian or Jamaican, of course
Right.
I would be, ingrained in that.
Yeah, sorry to interject.
We're the debate. I'm not telling anyone. Listen, if y'all can, if that happens, it happens. Like I'm not the one. I'm not the decider. We're just here. I'm saying it's wrong, dead wrong. That's my argument. It's dead wrong.
Okay.
No, I just want to say that.
All right, Gio.
I do understand that the United States is one country that had their own system, whereas all the other countries are, they could have had their own, but there is the interconnectedness. Like some of the people who came to the U.S. were just bought off from the islands. They had initially gone to the islands. They were sold. There was the trade within America. So there is the interconnection there within all of the Americas. I'm saying.
Okay, we've heard.
Let me break that down. Yeah, let me break that down. So when you're saying people were brought from the islands, are you saying that these were people who were Jamaican citizens or Haitian citizens or people who have been in Jamaica and Haiti, or were they just colonial outposts where they just ran them through? They brought them from Africa, they brought them to the Caribbean, and they took them and they took them to America. Okay, so what I'm saying is
all I'm saying is that there's a shared history.
Wait, hold on. JLMJ should be the only one talking right now.
No, I feel you.
Go ahead,
I understand what you're saying. There's a shared history, but what I'm saying is that was not Jamaica then. You know what I'm saying? That was not Haiti. They were not nations, so there was not like a difference in people. So those people were just kidnap Africans. Basically.
Yeah, you could say the same thing about the colonies versus the U.S. though. I mean, it's
no.
But when we're talking about chattel slavery in America and Jim Crowism in America, we're talking about lynching in America. Like that stuff did not exist.
I mean, like as a fact though, the situation in the islands was much worse. The nature of those slave.
Hold on. But what year did they end slavery over there?
It depends on the country. I mean, the UK ended about 20 years before in the colonies. So
how did you get to the UK?
1846, I think it was.
Okay. The mid 1840s.
UK was running the colonies, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we were just talking about the Caribbean nations.
Yeah. No, it's a side point though. This is I don't want to have to dwell too much on the interconnection between the islands.
No,
and America.
But it's a good point though, because we're talking about the relevancy. I'm gonna finish, then you can jump in. Ali. We're talking about the relevancy, because what it is we're trying to flatten blackness and make it like we all had the same struggle, we all had the same story, but you don't see a Ku Klux Klan in Jamaica. You don't see this type of terrorism and stuff going on in other places, specifically against black folks. You don't see. When you're talking about chattel slavery, you just told me Great Britain ended it in 1846. We're talking about chattel slavery didn't end in America to most places till 1865, and in certain parts 1866. And then after that, we get the black codes and Jim Crowism for another 100 years. So you cannot make it all the same.
No, I'm not making it all the same. I'm speaking about slavery specifically. Obviously, every island, every country, like whether it's under France, the UK, Netherlands, there were differences. A lot of Jamaicans. I don't know if you know this detail of history, but the blacks in Panama tend to have come from Jamaica. There was that settlement there. That's a history up into itself. So
and we're reparationists, so we believe that those people are entitled. They have their own justice claim, and that's why they have CARICOM, and we support them. But we're talking about specifically
that's fine.
ours here in America. Now I would like to get to some of the core arguments that you guys are making. But Brother Ali, did you want to say?
Let's let Ali come on. Then you could jump back in, Josh, and then we're gonna give them. But we have somebody else on. Matter of fact, after Ali, we're gonna let Julian introduce himself. I believe he was on that thread as well. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
Yeah, let me just say real quick. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, bro.
All right, cool. So let me just to the point of Caribbeans being brought into the Americas to do slave work, whether that was the Carolinas or what have you, right? Because we know about that. People bring that up often. It is a side point because the fact of the matter is those weren't, let's just be clear who we're talking about from an ethnic perspective. We're talking about a bunch of West Africans for the most part that may have had some interconnection with some of the native peoples of those islands, whether they be Arawaks, Tainos, whatever the case is. The fact of the matter is those people were not Jamaicans. They were not Trinidadians. They were not Haitians. Those people that were brought to the Americas to do slave work were people of African ancestry, West African ethnicities that were being traded back and forth between the Americas and the Caribbean to do slave work. Those were not Jamaican people. They were not Caribbean people. And so it's a misconception that keeps getting pushed by different people that Caribbean people were brought to the Americas for slave labor. That's not the case. These were West Africans who were brought into the Caribbean and brought to the Americas, traded back and forth between slave owners for the purpose of slave labor. They were not Caribbean people.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So let's get
I do understand.
That's not what he's.
I do understand.
Listen to what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
I want that to be clear for people who are listening, who continuously make that argument that Caribbean people, they were not Caribbean people, they were not Haitians. These were West Africans who were brought to Haiti and then transferred to the Americas for slave labor. They were not Haitians. So let's not play the game that Caribbean people were brought to the Americas for the purpose of slave labor. That never happened. No such thing.
Yeah.
That's not his point. His point is that people were coming.
That was his point.
Yeah, well, that's my point.
No.
That's my point.
Oh no, but what he was saying is that
No. That's my point. I'm trying to make the point so that it's clear for people who want to make that argument. Let's not make that argument.
Okay, and I'll clarify. So you had all these black people, slaves, brought to the Caribbean, and they were dispersed all over the place. I think that was the point he was making. And that this
Ali just answered, and Ali just answered.
I don't think his point. Well, his point wasn't that there were Caribbean people who were brought. Of course, they're all African. Haitian, the island of Haiti, the original. Oh, I don't know who was there originally, but they weren't black. Jamaica, they weren't black. There were native people there.
Okay.
Right, indigenous or whatever they call it.
All right, so let's introduce Julian. I can't remember what Julian's position was on the thread. For or against reparations, Julian? Introduce yourself.
I think he blocked me. The mic?
Julian, can you guys put your cameras on at all? Is it possible to put your cameras on so we can see who we're talking to?
Okay, I'm here now.
Thank you, Julian.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Julian.
Hey, what's going on?
Okie dokie. Let me see. I can't.
You're good,
I
man.
got one of these.
We could see you. We could hear you.
You're good.
Phone is still slow. Okay, so from my studies, pretty much told me that the original inhabitants of the islands were basically subjected to genocide to make way for the plantation.
Well, that's
culture.
not really the point. Let's stay.
And
just so that we don't go so far all over the place. Let's keep the conversation to reparations, man.
Yeah, we're gonna
agreed.
Julian, let's keep this conversation to reparations. We don't want to.
Well, it is. I'm explaining because y'all was talking about people from the Caribbean. And
well, we kind of moved past that, brother. Like,
what Noni just said about everybody being African, that is basically true, because the people who were originally on the island were basically subjected to genocide. And the reason Africans were so much brought in is because Africans didn't have familiarity or a sense of claim on the territory. And that basically is the foundation of our plight, is that as chattel, we had no human rights or considerations. And so basically we were shipped over and distributed as chattel who were put to work and torture to create wealth for the European settlers.
Brother, all due respect, brother.
Now,
brother,
right here in
I think we
America,
all know
for
this is true,
reparations,
man. Come on, like let's.
We're different than other Black people because we have ties to the territories as laborers here, who fed the wealth into the European culture, coffers and culture, if you want to say. And
Julian,
that money is due us
I got
as
a question.
reparations
I
from
have a
America.
question. Julian,
That's
what
my position.
are you for reparations or against reparations?
No, I just stated that money being due us in America is the claim of reparations. So I am for that.
All right. Okay, cool. So let's get to the argument. I want to go to some of these comments on the thread.
Oh, excuse me, y'all.
Yo, let me just tell you, bro. I can't stay on too long because I'm here like
irritate people.
Hold up, I'm here with my wife doing like family time things, so I can't stay too long, bro. I just wanted to jump in, while she's doing something real quick. I'll just letting you know, brother Naheem.
Okay, definitely, brother. So I want to get to some of Noni or Nani. I'm not
Nani.
sure.
Yeah, Nani.
Nani. Okay, Nani. I want to get to some of your claims. Let me see. Let's scroll through Twitter. One of the claims you made: slaveholders were compensated. This was you creating justification after. As a matter of fact, let's pull this stuff up. Let's start pulling this stuff up so everybody can read along with us and see some of the claims that I believe were just absolutely ridiculous claims. But maybe Nani doesn't feel that way, obviously, because he was making the claim. So this was a post that I made on Twitter of John McWhorter. He was on with Don Lemon. Don Lemon gave very little pushback because he's, I guess, in reporter mode. So he's not trying to be for or against it. Then this guy, what is his name, that's interviewing him, it was shared by Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, who's an Italian-American. And anybody that knows the history between the Italians and the Moors, well, y'all know how they feel about us, and that has been passed down through generations. So there's no surprise to me that he feels the way that he feels. So I asked if John McWhorter, who believes that affirmative action and the American Reinvestment Act were in fact reparations for our people, the descendants of freedmen, and if he was willing to have a live discussion / debate on this topic. Our eminent socioeconomist, scholar, professor, Dr. Darity commented and said it may be a waste of time. McWhorter simply repeats time and again arguments that have been addressed directly. Of course, he ignores the responses to what he regurgitates. So this is where Nani jumps in at and says the responses are just word salad with no justification, evidence, or logic. There's zero case for reparations.
That's bogus. That's the most bogus, insane thing that somebody could actually say.
It is. But I'm glad he's on. But let's get through some of it and then we can get through it. So brother Willie Garcia said, posted a meme, read a book with you. And Nani says, let's start with one good reason. Forget the fact that slaves were never compensated after slavery. The little bit that they did receive was taken back, and the 40 acres and the mule was taken back by the racist president Andrew Johnson. No, let's name some other reasons that are good enough for Nani. So brother Willie Garcia comments, the moral cause. Systems that have been overtly discriminatory until the late 70s, creating intergenerational wealth gaps and succeeding in placing a quarter of Black people into concentrated areas of poverty over at least the last century. And again, read a book, would you? He then states the slaveholders were financially compensated for their loss when emancipation was secured. The slaves found promises of land were overturned and watched the huge sum of their wealth lost through profligate administration and no government security offered others. Well, he's talking about how our people was saving money and putting it in the Freedmen's Bureau. The Freedmen's Savings and Trust Bank back in those days. And then, well, the racists just looted the bank. They just took all of our hard-earned money, which left us nothing to pass on to our progeny then, right? So this guy, glad he's on here, comes back and says slaveholders were compensated because that was a worldwide accepted practice. You want to apply today's standards to back then. The idea of slavery being wrong was absurd back then. It was absurd in Africa, and in some places, it's still absurd. So basically, if I'm reading what this guy is saying correctly, he's saying that, well, slave holders being compensated was a universal practice. So the first thing I want to do, and Ali, you can come in and make your statement. I want Nani to present us with some sources. Any academic credentialed source that shows that in ancient times, slave masters were compensated when the government, kingdom, etc., forced them to release their human property.
Right. So that wasn't exactly my point. My point was that slavery was accepted worldwide. The idea of ending slavery was absurd. So it would make sense. Hey, this is my property. That's the way it was.
Okay, hold on. I'm just trying to hear you correctly. You said the idea of ending slavery was absurd?
That's correct.
So our people should have stayed enslaved is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
I'm confused then.
No. What I'm saying is that throughout all of human history, that was normal. Slavery existed. People had slaves. It's what people did.
That's true.
So what I'm saying is that, eventually, I guess it started, Western civilization, Britain, they're like, hey, you know what, this is wrong. And they had the power to do something about it, and they stopped it. Now, because the British, they paid the slave owners. And it makes sense because they had a right to have slaves. That was the way of the world. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not defending it. I'm saying that's what it was. So to come and say, well, that's ridiculous. That's the way the world was back then. It is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, but also, let me ask you this. So also, when you say back then, you talk, what time period are you talking about exactly?
I'm talking about all through recorded human history until slavery mostly ended in, the 1840s to 60s, whatever the final period was.
Okay. Well, let me say this, man. When you talk about the legality of it, right? And you look at maybe under a British crown and all of that, maybe that's one thing. But under a United States where we have explicitly stated God-given rights, and we have explicitly stated, principles that's supposed to be upheld through the government. And slavery obviously violates those principles. And when you're talking about emancipation, that's in violation. So you can't, it's nowhere you can show me where slavery was constitutional. And so when you're talking about bringing, the harms that was done under that, and understanding the fact that it was not constitutional, then, violating those principles, then you can see why just that alone, there's a claim against that, because there's no constitution that guarantees, rights of citizens and rights, principles of certain treatment of everybody in the country, through the British crown or whatever crown. They don't have, that document in America was the first of its kind. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, you just said it's the first of its kind. America inherited slavery.
Whoa. Who did America inherit slavery from?
From the British. There was listen, that's the whole 1619 project. You know, the land was a colony. And then they fought for their freedom, and you had all these slaves here. You know, and of course you had a political fight. Like, what do we do? How do we stop this? It's easy to say, hey, let's just let, you know, everyone go. But you have the issue of, you know, a potential race war. There's all kinds of stuff that could go. So they had to argue and negotiate and figure it out. And they fought. I think one soldier died for every 6 slaves free. The white man did that. You got to give him his props, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yo,
it's just the facts.
Go ahead, Ali.
Do me a favor, man.
What's up?
Pull up the Somerset versus Stewart case.
All right, man.
Come on, let's go through this a little bit, because we could say words and stuff, but
you want me to pull up the wiki or the
yeah,
case?
you could pull up the wiki is good because it just gives you a framing of what that case was about and a little bit of the history on it.
Jeez.
Let's just read that real quick, man.
All right, man. Let me stop sharing this. Let's get into this real quick. Ooh, brother, you got a lot to learn. I watched your arguments on Twitter. You had none. The brothers that was on Twitter, they was absolutely cooking you. You ignored every piece of information that they brought up. So maybe you can get some education here on Be the Power. This is live and direct. Because you've already said a bunch of things. I'm trying to be fair, let everybody get their turns. And this debate could have been over 10 minutes ago, to be honest with you. But we're going to, as they say in a fight, when a boxer is fighting a weaker opponent, we're going to carry you for 12 rounds.
You would have given up?
We're going to carry you for 12 rounds. That's what we just going to look pretty jabbing you and hitting you with body shots all night. All right, so Somerset versus Stewart. All right, so Somerset, did you want me to read or you want to go through it, Ali?
You could go ahead and read it. You can go ahead and read it, and we give some commentary on it once you're done.
All right, Somerset versus Stewart.
We're going to talk about that. Now, we could talk about that. We could talk about. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
All right. Also known as the Somerset case. Somerset versus Stewart and the Mansfield judgment is a judgment of the English Court of King's Bench in 1772 relating to the right of an enslaved person on English soil not to be forcibly removed from the country and sent to Jamaica for sale. Lord Mansfield decided that, quote, the state of slavery is of such a nature that it is incapable of being introduced on any reasons, moral or political, but only by positive law, which preserves its force long after the reasons, occasions, and time itself from whence it was created is erased from memory. It is so odious that nothing can be suffered to support it but positive law. Whatever inconveniences, therefore, may follow from the decision, I cannot say that this case is allowed or approved by the law of England, and therefore the black must be discharged. Did you want to go in on that part, Ali?
Yeah, read that next. Read the next piece. Just read the next piece because they're going to give you something that's related to what he was saying about inheriting slavery from England.
Okay. Slavery had never been authorized by statute within England and Wales, and Lord Mansfield found it also to be unsupported within England by the common law, although he made no comment on the position in the overseas territories of the British Empire. Lord Mansfield's judgment was deliberately expressed in narrow terms, and scholars and later judges have disagreed over precisely what legal precedent the case said. So
now, we're not even talking about legal precedent per se, right? We're just talking about the idea that the institution of slavery was inherited by the colonists from England. The fact of the matter is you had the Lord Mansfield who sat on the King's Bench, which was basically like their Supreme Court, I'm assuming, telling you that the history of slavery was never supported by any kind of English or British law anywhere within their dominion, right? Although they tolerated it in the colonies. them tolerating it is a different thing from them sending it with them over with the colonists into the British colonies here in the Americas. That's not what happened. They didn't inherit that from England. Slavery is something that goes back many years, long before the British Empire, right? So they didn't inherit that. That's something that men do, and then that's also something that men fight against. So when you say things like it was insane, or what was the word you used? That the abolition of slavery was what?
I think he
Nanny?
said, was it absurd?
Absurd? All right,
Yeah, I
here's the
believe that's
thing.
what he said.
That implies that abolitionism didn't exist until white people decided to abolish slavery in 1807 or 1808, whenever it was. They decided to abolish the slave trade in England. That was a slave trade, right? The United States followed suit the very next year with the abolition of the slave trade, even though they allowed slavery to continue in this country. The only reason chattel slavery ended in this country was because people actually fought a war, of which 200 and something thousand black men fought for their own liberation right here in this country. So don't sit there and try to pretend that white people did us some goddamn favor, because that's not what happened.
That's
Black
right.
people fought for their own liberation in this country. Now I'm telling you the history of my people, because you're not one of my people.
You're not one of my people.
That you're not. So I'm telling you the history of my people, brother. My people fought for their own liberation in this country, died for it. Not only did they fight for their own liberation, they fought to save this thing called the United States. Because if our people did not fight in the Civil War, the Union was going to lose to the Confederacy. That's an actual fact. They had to enlist black soldiers, my ancestors, to fight in the Civil War, because they knew they were going to lose if they did not. If we did not fight, we would be living in something called the Confederate States of America right now. My people did that. My people are the backbone of this thing. My people were the ones who got shitted on from the very foundation. In their Emancipation Proclamation, they talk about the liberty that is due all men. All men were born free and equal and have the rights, unalienable rights, even though they alienated my people from those things. That Declaration of Independence, Declaration of Independence didn't say that all white men were created equal. It said all men were created equal. And they violated that from the very beginning. Every chance they had to do right by my people, they chose to do something else. So don't say that there's no case for reparations. You don't know what you're talking about, because you don't come from my people. You're not a part of my people's plight. You think we're all the same, but we're not all the same, brother. You have a different experience, different cultural continuity, different value system. You were raised in a whole different situation than me. You don't come from the intergenerational problems that my family comes from. You don't. You don't relate to the fact that there was a red summer in 1919. You don't relate to that. You don't understand how black people, even after slavery, purchasing millions of acres of land and having 90-something% of that land stolen from them by white racists. You don't understand how that affected our families intergenerationally, even till today. Not only that, then we got to turn around and deal with the fact that our people are being fucking targeted by banking institutions for subprime mortgages, losing billions of dollars in wealth after losing millions of acres of land. You don't know what you're talking about. They just now dealing in California with an issue of one black family. This is just one black family. Had a whole plot of land stolen from them. These people done built $20 million houses and shit like that on this black family's land. And guess what? Them people don't want to give it back to them. You think that kind of stuff is right? You saying the fact that these kinds of incidents happen across America time and time again, over and over again, you telling me that that's not a reason for repair, because at the root of the word reparations is the word repair. You trying to tell me that our people significantly being damaged like this, locked out of this nation's economy, but used as human resources on a consistent basis, it's not a reason for repair. That shows me that you're not connected to us. It shows me that you have no reason talking on our situation and our experiences, because you don't know, you're not connected, you have your own situation to deal with, and that's what you should be talking on, bro. You don't see African Americans talking about your people's plight. or downing your people's plight. If your people are from the Caribbean, when have you ever seen African Americans tell CARICOM they need to sit down and shut the fuck up because what they're talking about is wrong? They need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You've never seen our people do nothing like that. So where do you folks get off doing that kind of stuff coming to this country that our people fought for to have the damn legislation changed so that you can even come to this country? You gonna come here and side with the Europeans? That's insanity, bro.
So what was your question for me?
Like that? And then you want to try to say we all black? There is no question. There is no question. I'm telling you the facts. There's no question.
Okay. Well,
You siding with racist whites as if that's the thing to do.
No, I'm siding with what's right. I'm not interested in siding with racist.
You ain't siding with right because you don't even know the history.
That's
what
right.
was Jim Crow? Here's my question. What was Jim Crow and how did it affect black people? Give me some details on how the period of Jim Crowism affected Native Black Americans, the descendants of American freedmen. Tell me specifically in detail. Give me the timeline of how this stuff impacted my people. And then tell me, after you break down how all that stuff affected our people, how we don't deserve any kind of repair.
Well, you know what? I think there is a case for some sort of repair, but it starts actually in the mid-'60s when FDR had this huge welfare program claiming that it was going to help black people. And instead, you went from having a 20-something% out of wedlock birth rate to quickly having an over 70% out of wedlock birth rate. Coming out of Jim Crow, there were huge gains in wealth. That gap, that wealth gap, that was closing. And as soon as those policies were put in place,
time is sold. That's the time is sold, right?
Hey, it is what. Hey, listen, I heard him say that. I heard him say that, and I checked the numbers myself, man. I checked the numbers myself.
Let me tell you something.
Go ahead, Ali.
Let me just say this, bro. Let me say this. I grew up in Harlem, came through the 1970s. I saw what was going on. I lived through it. Thomas Sowell did not live in Harlem. He don't know what the hell he's talking about. Thomas Sowell is somebody who's employed by white people at some institution somewhere. He doesn't live amongst us.
He grew up in Harlem.
He doesn't live amongst us. He doesn't live amongst us. I guarantee you in the 1970s, that dude wasn't there. And if he was, he's lying to you. I can show you pictures of all of the buildings that got burnt out by white landlords deliberately so they can collect the goddamn insurance money and go out into the suburbs and build up their things. Come on, man. Come on, man.
No, I don't deny that happened, but that was from these leftist policies that you guys keep supporting, man.
Bro, look. Hold on. This is why. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish, and I'm gonna come in. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
Listen.
Okay, so
we're not gonna sit around and talk. But wait. Burning buildings where people live to collect insurance money is not a left or right policy. That's the actions of racist whites.
No.
It's the actions of racist white landlords. You weren't there. Were you there?
I don't need to.
Were you there?
Were your parents there? Were your parents there?
Were your parents there? Yes, I was there. I was there.
You were burning the building.
I saw. Let me tell you something. I grew up in Manhattanville projects. Right across the street was a whole bunch of what they call tenement buildings. That whole block behind my building where I can see out my living room window, the damn near the whole block have been burnt down to bricks by the white landlords who was running those buildings.
Why?
So they can collect insurance money.
And why?
So they can collect insurance money. What do you mean, why would they do that? Because they didn't want to be around the niggas that was moving in there. What are you talking about?
That's not what happened.
What are you talking about?
So they give us a wait. Hold on.
Let me tell you something.
Hold on. Ali.
He doesn't know. He don't know the history of Harlem. He doesn't know that Harlem was a white place until black people started moving from downtown uptown, and those people wanted to move out.
That's what I want about. I want him. Being that he says that, provide us a source right now, Nani.
Listen, I don't. No. I'll let me explain what I have to explain. But
I don't want an explanation.
I don't want to turn it into.
I don't want an explanation. I want a source.
You want me to go online now and find something?
Yeah,
that's what you're telling me.
Yeah. Basically, And then
All right.
while you're looking for it, let me pull up something, because this is something that you
here we go. This is turning into a Google debate, man.
Yeah.
No, I invited you to a debate. You said
Yo,
you agreed
Google
to
is
the
a search
debate.
engine. There's nothing wrong with Google. Everybody
That's right.
uses
There's nothing
Google.
wrong with Googling.
Everybody, it's just a search engine.
It's a search engine that has articles like
If you
this.
got a problem with the source, debunk the source. Don't Google is not a problem. It's just a search engine.
Now this is from the Insider, and it says how, and this has been written on. Dr. Sandy Darity has written on it in this book right here. We were referencing it on that Twitter thread. Who else? Ira Katz Nelson's book, When Affirmative Action Was White. It wasn't a problem until black people got it. So this article, one of many, how decades of U.S. welfare policies lifted up the white middle class and largely excluded black Americans. This is from, this article breaks it down. Dr. Darity, in this book right here, let me make sure y'all got this book, as you can see it, From Here to Equality, breaks down how 30 years white Americans suffered from what you all call government handouts today. They collected so much from the government that they were able to build a middle class. Black Americans were excluded from the same program for 30 years. When we finally got it, white Americans didn't want us to have it. They did everything in their power to limit it. All throughout the years, read Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow. She speaks about the welfare to work program. It was basically another form of neo-slavery. You're not versed enough on this topic, because if you was, you would be on this side of the argument fighting with us instead of caping for white supremacists, brother. Point blank, period.
Well, I mean, in no way am I caping for white supremacy.
You are.
Not a chance.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this,
and after
because
that, we're gonna bring in GLMJ. Go ahead,
yeah,
Josh.
because I would like to hear what he has to say too. But you made an earlier point. This, it's a commonly used, it's just a terrible argument to say, I'm not a fan of taking from people who had never owned slaves to give it to people who were never enslaved in the first place. That's the stupid. I don't understand how you don't think that that's a stupid ass argument. That's a stupid argument. And let me tell you why. Because the United States government, United States government was in existence, and United States government essentially allowed slavery to take place. So when you say people who never were enslaved, we still bear the generational cost of that slavery. And when you say people who never had slaves, well, yeah, the United States government, yeah, they also sanctioned slavery, and the United States government also had slaves too. People that did business with the government contracted slave labor. So, the thing that you fail to understand is we're not talking about putting out doing debits from people's checking accounts, savings account, corporate stocks, and all that kind of stuff. That's not what we're talking about. And we're talking about a program that the United States federal government will fund via its fiscal agent, the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Treasury, and will pay via that program. We're not talking about taking money from somebody's account or taking from somebody's, you got to divide off your home. We're talking about the United States government. So
can I respond to that?
Go ahead.
The government has no money.
The government has the government. Well, where does the money come from then?
From taxpayers.
No. We're not talking about the state government. We're not talking about the local government. We're talking about the U.S. federal government.
Right.
See, you don't know enough about fiscal operations of the United States, but you're making an anti-reparations argument. Taxpayers do not fund the government the same way that I live in the D.C. area. The same way as when we go to the see the Washington Wizards play, we don't give them points. They don't need us to give them points. They just issue the points. That's how there's no such thing as all spending and on the federal level is new spending. If you don't understand this, don't laugh. Go and get your education to understand how federal U.S. fiscal operations work.
Okay, can I respond?
We have one article that
can I
he can reference on the screen. Let me put this in the chat. Y'all know, see, we do this over here. They calling you Coleman Hughes' twin.
Coleman Hughes' we know twin. You probably in America over here because so, you know who that is. So
that's right. He knows all of them. He knows the whole
all the turning point crew and
this is
good dude. Shout out to Coleman.
All right.
Hell no.
Yeah, I mean, you could give your shout out to him, but if he come on this program, he's gonna get the same treatment. He's gonna get filleted, cooked to a crisp on both sides, and then deposited in the the garbage disposal.
Damn.
Yo, go ahead, get into that article, bro, because he need to hear this. He doesn't understand.
Yeah, he need to hear. All right, let me get into this because I wasn't going to really get deep into it. I was just, okay. Once fringe ideas in economic theory are now nearly official policy as government borrowing surges and the Federal Reserve signals it can buy unlimited debt. First and foremost, let me frame this article. Once Nixon took the country off of the gold standard, once the gold standard gets eliminated, the United States of America begins the process of printing its own fiat. So technically, it becomes a sovereign monetary power that all dollars in the world basically have to bow to. Period. So let's get into this article a little bit. Let me see. The United States has responded to the economic havoc wrought. Now, this was April 2020. This was just the first act, the CARES Act. This wasn't even the second act, which I believe was the HEROES Act. The United States has responded to the economic havoc wrought by the coronavirus with the biggest relief package in its history, $2 trillion. It essentially replaces a few months of American economic activity with a flood of government money, every penny of it borrowed. And where is all that cash coming from? Mostly out of thin air. This is what the economists are breaking down, where the money is coming from. This is what economists like Stephanie Kelton is breaking down. The money, hold on, the money is not even printed no more. It's just digitized. It's basically crypto. Basically, cryptocurrency is what we're dealing with, essentially. And they just change numbers. That's all they do.
No. Can I respond?
Oh, wait, no. Hold on, because you're getting a little education tonight. We're going to let you go. We're going to let you ask the question, but let me finish reading a little bit. The traditional view of economic theory holds that governments and central banks, remember it said the traditional view, and that's what you have, because you're letting the neo-Confederates, the Republicans, and their puppets fool you into thinking that this thing is still ran traditionally. The traditional view of economic theory holds that governments and central banks have distinct responsibilities. A government sets fiscal policy, spending the money it raises through taxes and borrowing to run a country. And the central bank uses various levers of monetary policy, like buying and selling government securities to change the amount of money in circulation to ensure the smooth operation of the country's economy. But the relief package called the CARES Act will require the government to vastly expand its debt at the same time that the Federal Reserve has signaled its willingness to buy an essentially unlimited amount of government debt. That's interesting. With those twin moves, the United States has effectively undone decades of conventional wisdom. That's that tradition that they're talking about, embedding into policy ideas that were once relegated to the fringes of economics. Period. Oh man, this article gets so deep. But before you ask your question,
right,
I want you to think about this. Because you say that tax money funds the government, right? That's your belief, right? Yes or no? Yes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yes, absolutely. Okay. Now, you have to think, this is April 2020. From April 2020 until maybe April 2021, let's say a year.
Okay.
The United States of America had the largest unemployment in a long, long time, which means no one was working, which means no one was paying taxes into the government. Big companies were getting rich, Amazon, et cetera, who paid little to no taxes to the government. So how did the government survive? One. Two, how did they come up with another package? Biden and his administration, under a bipartisan effort, is about to pass another 1-point-something trillion infrastructure plan, and nobody's tax money is being raised 1 cent at all. So, based on these facts, how do you justify your claim that tax money somehow funds government? Break it down.
Okay, so I'll explain that, but first I want to ask. First I want to ask you a quick question. So, because to me it seems what you're saying is that the government can basically do whatever they want and make anyone they want wealthy. So my question is, why don't they just do that for everyone? If it was that simple. Now, to directly answer your question, the issue is inflation. So there is a tax. They're taxing. You print more money and you end up with the money you have in your pocket worth less. That's the scam they're pulling. So right now, everyone is being taxed. And you know who's getting taxed the most? The poor. Because the little money they have, that's being eaten away by inflation. That dollar in your pocket is worth less than it was a year ago. That's what they're doing. But answer that. If the government could just print money, why don't they just do it? Why don't they just make everyone wealthy?
Hold on, because we welcome back first and foremost our brother Dr. Logic Supreme. This is one of his, let me just say, areas of expertise. Not only is he going to answer your questions, he's going to further school you on this topic some more. Brother Logic, jump in, bro, and let's school our brother Coleman Hughes. Hughes' twin.
Peace to the family. Peace to the family. What's up?
Welcome back, bro.
Yeah. I had to jump in, man. I didn't want this to be my first show back, but it's a good show. I don't know why the brother is continuously laughing, because to no fault of his own, I blame like the education system and the politicians and whatnot, why he thinks that way. But if we could just take time out and use common sense for a little bit, we'll see what actually makes sense, right? When you're talking about U.S. monetary operation, right? You have to separate. So a lot of people listen to a lot of economists who are, basically teaching their whatever school of thought that they come from. They're academic economists, right? But if you talk to anybody who actually is a professional and actually operates in monetary operations, like someone who works at the Fed, or people in the private sector who work at, banks that deal with the Fed and that really interact with the Federal Reserves and the Treasury on a day-to-day basis, they know the operating side, right? So the policy doesn't actually always reflect the reality, right? So a lot of people say, the brother said, when you asked him, what funds the federal government? He says the taxpayers. I'm saying, so how can the taxpayers who get their money from the government fund that same government who gave them the money in the first place? It makes no sense. It's like me saying that I allow my children to do chores in the house and I pay them in currency that I created, right? I create my own type of currency. Say the only way you can go out with your friends is if you earn this currency that I've created. The only way I'll let you get this currency, we'll call them fun coupons, right? To let you go have some fun is if you do your chores, right? So I have provisioned myself to put my child in a position to where they want what I have. So they
that only I will accept, right? I don't need the money. I need them to do the work. So that's why I create the currency. So now let's go to the United States of America, right? Taxes are not, so on the state level, local level, taxes are a big part. Taxes are a big part of how states budget, right? And what makes up the state's budget. But on the federal level, there's a difference between your state, your local government, and your federal government. Your federal government is the currency creator and the currency issuer, right? And they have monetary sovereignty. What does that mean? That means they do not borrow in any currency other than their own. They don't. So now we're the sole creators of anything else is called counterfeit, right? It's counterfeit money, not real. So now The United States creates currency, right, to provision itself to get people to do work for the state. Then the United States doesn't need your dollars. If you were to pay, right, if you were to pay your taxes to the IRS, let's say there was a website you pay your taxes on, right? Let's say you had $5,000 in taxes and you wanted to pay $3,000, right? You could just watch them change the number on your account. You would issue payment. Once that payment process, all they would do, you're not adding any money to the government. They're just changing. You made a digital payment over the web, and they just changed that 5 to a 2 because you paid $3,000. Even if you took $3,000 cash, let's say there was a place you could go.
Breaking up a little bit, bro.
Give me 1 second.
All right.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, sure. But my thing is, right, I'm waiting for you to provide some sort, because we're going to keep bringing up data. We're going to keep bringing up what economists have shown to be right. And I'm going to pull up some charts in a little while as well. I've yet to see you pull up anything. I've yet to even see you cite anything credible, even if we don't feel Thomas Sowell is credible. I haven't heard you make a direct citation.
I didn't know we were talking about making citations. But if you want credibility, you're looking at it right here. So I want to address what he was talking about with the money here. So,
Go ahead, man.
So it's true that the government prints the money, but the money only has value if people are willing to accept it. And the reason why people are willing to accept it is because there's only so much of it. That's why counterfeiting is a problem, because you don't want extra money just floating around. And the reason why money has value is because of work. Is work. Work is what gives money its value.
So work give money. Work?
Yes.
Okay, guys, break it down for him, Brother Logic.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. You still sound a little spacey.
Can y'all hear me?
You sound a little low. You sound a little low, but we can hear you.
You good? Go ahead.
It's about to clear right up, right? All right, check it out. Can y'all hear me? Am I good? 1, 2.
Yo.
No, you breaking up, bro. You breaking up.
All right, while you getting it.
Are you good? You good? Go ahead.
Yeah. So, all right. Now, he said that there's a limited amount of U.S. currency. That's what makes it valuable. That's absolutely wrong, right? The government maintains, and he said the reason why they print out money. Most money is not printed out. Most money is simply basic accounting. It's numbers and accounts. People have bank accounts. And so when they change the number on your bank account, they're not adding any more money into circulation. That it's just basic accounting at that point. They're just changing digits on a digital bookkeeping system at banks who have accounts with the Fed, right? We got to explain all of this stuff when it comes to the U.S. deficit, when it comes to debt, and then when it comes to what taxes are actually used for and what taxation is really about. First thing you have to understand is that the government's federal budget is not constrained or made up on taxation. It's an old Margaret Thatcher Keynesian economic idea, and so a lot of people go straight to the economists and talk about this, right? It's more important than mine.
You breaking up, bro. You breaking up, bro.
Breaking up a bit.
All right, so while Logic getting
wait,
no, GLMJ, we want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, no, I mean I just rejoined a couple of minutes ago, and this is a bit of a side point of just how, and it kind of goes as far as reparations go as how to pay given if we were to do so.
Well, wait, hold on. This is not a side point. This is a perfect point, actually, because it shows how the money will be created and distributed.
Yeah, absolutely. But the point is the question is, should we or should we not? Now we're talking about how, given if we were to, and it's a different question. So like it's the next level, and I don't know if you settled on whether or not to do so, but there's that. But no, like just back to the point of the money available. I mean, it's like it's not just money on a screen, man. Like digits could be changed on a screen, and it's not gonna you're not gonna become a millionaire if everyone adds an extra zero, a few zeros to their bank account, and all of a sudden your $1 million is worthless.
Okay, so wait,
it's the
hold
same
on.
There's a hard.
Let me
There's a value.
Let me jump in, right? Because a lot of people just received stimulus checks from the government, 1,200, 600, 1,400. So that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, they did. And the reason why.
Wait a minute, you just said that they couldn't do it though. So
I said that
they can't do it without a cost.
They could do it exactly. They can't do that to increase the wealth, the aggregate wealth of the country. That's what I'm saying. Is that
can anyone hear me?
A certain segment of the population.
Yeah,
just give me a second, man. If you do it to a certain segment of the population, sure, they'll have some more money, but on the aggregate, as Nani said, things will become more costly, or not necessarily more costly. It still has the same inherent value. It's just that the value of the dollar, what it's against, that's used to buy it is
okay. So before you come in, hold on, GLMJ, is that the way things work in Canada?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, there's no.
That's not how it works here.
Come on, man.
All right, Brother Logic, please respond. Go ahead. I'm muting everybody.
Yeah, let me come back in. So it's important for people to just take a pause, right, and understand, like, sometimes we just been taught wrong and we don't really understand. Like, the economists differ on this subject, right? But it's interesting that none of the chairmen of the Fed have a difference of opinion in how monetary operations work. You go from Greenspan to Bernanke, they all concur. And when even asked, right, the Republicans brought in either Bernanke or Greenspan. I forget which one it was. I think it was Bernanke. They brought him in, and he was trying to.
It was Greenspan. It was Greenspan.
All right.
Greenspan,
and he was grilling him. He thought Greenspan was going to be a good witness for him, and he was like, "We're broke. We can't afford. Social Security is going to be insolvent. Yada yada yada. If we continue this way of irresponsible spending, we're going to be broke. But yada yada yada." President Obama has said that. We've seen people on the left and right give us this doom and gloom. We're broke. America doesn't have any money. Bullshit, right? And what do the chairman of the Fed say? They said there is no spending constraints that the government is concerned with. What would bring about inflation, right? And when it comes to the issue of government spending, is if there was more money in circulation than actual assets to purchase, right? We're not dealing with any asset shortage in America. We're not dealing with any resource shortages. We're not dealing with a food shortage. We're not dealing with oil shortage. We're not dealing with labor shortages or steel or anything of that nature. Money is just a medium of exchange. You understand? And what we really need are the raw assets it takes to feed people, to build things, and to actually get shit done. So now the government, right, has monetary sovereignty. We don't have to pay. We don't have to borrow. We don't have to tax, right? Before I broke out earlier, I was talking about the old academic economic theory, right, tied into Keynesianism and other economic schools of thoughts, where the dominating thought behind it was you have to tax and borrow before you can spend. But that's when governments were having their monetary system tied in to a commodity, which is limited. That limits you, right? So once we left the gold standard in 1971 and achieved monetary sovereignty, now we do not have that problem. It's like, yo, we got to watch how much we spend because we can actually run out of gold. Gold is something that you can run out of, right? So it was actually a good move to leave the gold standard and to choose monetary sovereignty. All currency is fiat, right? You have all these people watch these YouTube shows, right? And they give them all, that's just fiat. All money is fiat. Some money is just tied to commodities and some is not, right? But if you look at the strongest nations in the world, they have monetary sovereignty because it keeps their economy flowing, right? Because we have real assets and we don't actually pay for things with money. You understand? It's the work that gets you done. So the brother was right in a certain sense when he said it's the work, right? So if I'm going to ask the government, when the government says, how are we going to pay for something? It's not the actual money that is they have to find before they can afford a project. When if they want to do a major infrastructure deal or something of that nature or that magnitude, what they need to be saying is, we're going to pay for it with hiring 700,000 in the labor force. We're going to use this much amount of steel, this much amount of concrete, this much amount of textiles, and so on and so forth. That's how you actually pay for things, with raw assets. The government does not have to go and look for money. They have the ability to produce whatever currency it needs to create the type of economy they want to have.
That's right.
But the people do not know that. The government, see, we're doing home economics and not U.S. fiscal economics, right? You're doing kitchen table budgeting, trying to match that up with how the U.S. government works. But the big difference is the U.S. government is the currency creator and the currency issuer, and everybody else is the currency user. So we cannot look at the federal government the same way we look at ourselves or at our states. The states need the federal government because the states can't create money. You don't have no currency of Texas, right? It's the U.S. dollar in Texas. It's the U.S. dollar in Illinois and everywhere else. So that's the biggest concept that you have to understand first, is the currency creator and the currency user share different relationships. You have to understand that when the government spends, public spending, right, increases, right, when they run deficits, when that means they're doing excess spending from the public sector, the private sector is getting that money. The money goes to the private sector. So now the private sector is running a surplus. That's good for us. We actually need the government to spend. And in many cases, they don't spend enough. But because so many of you, right, and others think that it's taxpayer dollars, and that you don't even ask yourself, well, how the hell I get the dollars in the first place? You didn't make the dollars. So how could you be funding the person you got the money from? If you had the ability to fund the government, why the fuck would you go to work? You can fund the government. Why do people go to work? You go to work because you need the money. And the only place you can get it is from the United States of America. You understand? So now you got to rethink everything you've been taught and understand that when the government, when you pay your taxes, they destroy the money. It doesn't go into the reserves. The reserves is the federal government's checking account. That's the spendable dollars that they want to put in circulation. When they tax, they destroy the money. You know, it doesn't go back into the fund, right? And the other side, the government savings account, which people call the U.S. debt, but it's really the U.S. saving account, is nothing but the account of how many U.S. Treasury security bonds that are being stored there. Right. If America spends $1 million and only taxes 900,000 back and destroys it, they will allow those the dollars that were not taxed out of circulation and destroyed. They'll allow people to purchase them and turn them into U.S. securities that accrue interest, right? And still, then what happens? They sit there, they mature, and then what happens? All they do is transfer that from their savings account, which is the Treasury, over into the reserve account, which is the checking account, the spendable money, right?
The borrowing from the future, man, is what they're doing. They're just like,
okay, look, this is what we're gonna do. Hold on.
I don't know what he was saying.
He's saying they're borrowing from the future. You know,
borrowing from. But hold on. That's another popular myth that they say.
That's right.
They're borrowing from our kids. We're in like even Obama said this, right? He was like, we're broke and we're spending on a credit card. We're borrowing money from China. We do not borrow. China cannot make U.S. currency. We don't borrow no money.
But even when they raise debt, the government pays it back eventually.
No, the government just gives the money back to you. It's already yours. They don't need it for nothing. So they allow you. We do China and other people who can afford U.S. treasuries. We do them a favor by allowing them to purchase these financial instruments that do great when it comes to building interest, and we let them store it there. Of course, we could let them have just a checkings account, but it don't store no interest there. And they want to spend the money, they can spend the money. If they want to take it out, what they're going to do with it? It doesn't hurt us none, because it's not like we have a limited amount of money that we have to worry about running out of. You understand?
I want to do this, Brother Logic.
Go ahead.
Wait, hold on. You got too many letters in your name. But I want to play, because Brother Logic referenced the conversation between Paul Ryan and Alan Greenspan. Paul Ryan thought he was going to put Alan Greenspan in a trick bag with this political question, and he did not expect this answer. But let's read the title of this video. Greenspan, there is nothing to prevent the government from creating as much money as it wants. Now, if Nani and the guy from Canada is telling me that they have more knowledge than the former Federal Reserve Chairman and Alan Greenspan.
No one is saying that the U.S. can't print money, though. But
well,
go
okay,
ahead, hold on.
No. We're going to play the video.
Play the video, man.
Let's play the video.
So having personal retirement accounts is another way of making a future retiree benefits more secure for their retirement. And also, do you believe that personal retirement accounts as a component to a system of solvency does help improve solvency? Because when you have a personal retirement account policy, it's accompanied with a benefit offset. With that feature in place, do you believe that personal retirement accounts can help us achieve solvency for the system and make those future retiree benefits more secure?
Well, I wouldn't say that the pay-as-you-go benefits are insecure in the sense that there's nothing to prevent the federal government from creating as much money as it wants and paying it to somebody. The question is, how do you set up a system which assures that the real assets are created, which those benefits are employed to purchase? So it's not a question of security. It's a question of the structure of a financial system which assures that the real resources are created for retirement as distinct from the cash. The cash itself is nice to have, but it's got to be in the context of the real resources being created at the time those benefits are paid, so that you can purchase real resources with the benefits, which of course are cash.
So I don't know if that went over our guest's head, and maybe Brother Elijah could go in a little deeper, but basically what Greenspan said in the scenario that was proposed by Paul Ryan, and remember the super deficit hawk, but he didn't care when Trump was spending, his spending was outpacing Obama. Nobody cared about any of that stuff because it's all a political game. But basically what Alan Greenspan said was there's nothing to prevent the government from producing as much money as it needs, just so long as there's a structure in place so that, and Elijah, correct me if I'm wrong, there's something to spend the money on. So in our case,
facts,
right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So hold one second.
Go ahead.
So what he's saying, right? He mentioned something very important. He says, as long as the financial structure, right? And so what he's talking about is the gap between monetary operations and monetary policy, right? So Paul Ryan is talking about monetary policy, which is driven by what? The party agenda, right? They have an agenda there, right? They're pushing private savings accounts. That's their agenda at the moment. So they're just pulling up anything to support their argument, whether it's rooted in reality or not. So you have the other guy who actually works in finance, who actually works in banking, and who actually knows monetary operations, saying, you know what? As long as y'all have the right monetary policy, we can create whatever type of economy we want. Y'all have to get the policy side right so that the financial structure is created to so it's not the monetary security that is the issue. It's the policy that's the problem. That's what he was really getting at. But as long as the people don't understand how their government's financial system works, politicians be able to twist you and turn you and spook you and scare you every time they come out talking about deficits and budgets and all this other foolishness that gets people to do what? Vote in a certain way. That's all they do, because Congress don't need the money. They already have access and control over the U.S. Treasury. They got the money. What they need is the vote. So they'll say whatever they need to say to get you to vote whatever way they want you to vote. That's what it's about. It's not about monetary limitations. Because again, what he didn't speak to in this one, but what could have been fleshed out was that what he was trying to tell you, we're not dealing with any resource shortages, no food shortages. We're not dealing with no land shortages. We're not dealing with none of that. We don't have that problem here in America. So there is nothing wrong with an economy being created to be a people's economy. Right now, we have an economy that has no problem bailing out millionaires and billionaires and big corporate America. They get bailouts all the time into the trillions of dollars, and you have not paid one tax dollar to fund
Come on,
that.
brother.
You ain't
Come
paid
on.
one tax dollar to fund it. You didn't
I
bail out
think
Boeing. Your kids
you
have
could let Nani or
I
just
hold on,
respond
bro.
again.
Hold
No,
on.
hold
now.
on. No,
Go ahead.
First
we
of
run
all,
this platform. We run
first and
this
foremost,
over here.
Yeah.
and you're from Canada.
Yeah, you're from Canada.
You're a
dude.
foreigner. Yeah,
That's
I'm
right.
teaching you about American policy. I wouldn't dare teach you about Canadian policy. I'm not from Canada.
No, I mean, I have immediate
Disrespect.
family in the States, so it's not. I'm not that much of a foreigner, but
How long you
Yeah,
been
you
here?
are.
I've been here since the 1700s. How long you been here?
Yeah. Well,
All
I
right,
mean,
yeah. All right, so
I'm actually
now-
Methuselah, and like from the Bible, and
that's
All right,
not
man.
real. That's not real. All right,
Let's get him up.
let's
out
stay
of here.
focused.
Keep
Let's
going.
stay focused,
Keep
right?
going. Let's get him up
So,
out of here.
so now what we're talking about is reparations. I don't know how this conversation started, but when we're talking about the possibilities of reparations, right? There are no monetary constraints from funding a reparations program and project. What we have is policy constraints. That's what we have to focus on. It's the policy that we have to get right. You understand? We have to get and the only way we can get that right is we have to understand how our government's financial system works. And as long as we're still using pre-1971 economic thought, we're going to be thinking about this all wrong. We are not on the gold standard anymore. The gold standard was a terrible standard, and it would not suffice to support a country this large and this vast and this powerful in 2021. It would be crazy. So we got to stop thinking of America monetary policy as if we're still attached to the gold standard. That's not the move, family. We have to understand where we're at right now. You understand? We're monetary sovereigns, and we're a world power. Again, going back to the constant things people say, going back to when Barry Obama was saying that we have to borrow money from China. We're not borrowing anything. We run trade deficits with China every year. But guess who's winning the best? Who's winning in that deal? We are. You understand? We're giving them what? We allow them to buy securities and store them in our bank. Okay, cool. We're getting the real stuff. They make their people sweat and work to the bone and to death to buy, to make and manufacture things that they don't even get to fucking buy. We buy all that shit. We got the TVs and the iPhones and all of the cars and shit. They don't have their gross population don't get none of the raw real assets. So that's I'll take that deficit any day. We allow them to do what? Store money in our bank. And if they wanted to check out, they have a account with the Fed. We would just mark China's account up on digitally. Even if they wanted to have their money flown over in a 747 on flatbeds, there's nothing stopping the American government from printing them out how much cash they want and giving it to them. And it would not cause inflation here. And it would not do anything to hurt us negatively, because what would it do? It wouldn't do anything to cause any type of asset or resource shortage in America, right? Inflation is actually hard to force. We're not like Venezuela, and we're not like those other countries who have monetary sovereignty but still borrow.
My bad, Logic. I don't mean to cut your throat. I'm sitting here and I'm baffled because I see Nani shaking his head. Yeah, and I'm curious as to why. What are you shaking your head about, Nani? Unmute yourself, bro.
Yeah. So I mean, look, to me, I like things simple. I'm a little slow, so I like things simple.
Facts.
So my question for you is: you're saying all of this to say that the U.S. can just give whoever they want as much money as they want, and it won't have any effect on anything. Is this the bottom line?
It'll have a positive effect on the United States economy, but go ahead, Logic.
But that's not what I said, right? I said there's no constraints stopping the United States government for creating whatever type of economy they want to create. Now, the gap I'm talking about, you have to understand the difference, right? And I think this is where the disconnect is, the difference between monetary operations and monetary policy. You understand? So we're not saying, no one on here is saying the United States government can just make every citizen a millionaire. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about reparations and how the United States government has no funding constraints that would prohibit them or prevent them from funding a project as large and as vast as we design it. That's what we're talking about here. Why we're not talking about giving everybody as much money as we want. And again, the only way to do that is get the vote, because Congress is the one who controls the purse. So would have a vote for something like that to be enacted. And who's going to vote for everybody to get everything? Most people don't even know that the government can even do it. So you won't even get a possibility like that, because I got to deal with people like you who don't even understand that the government isn't constrained by any funding, by taxation and anything like that. So no, the bottom line is reparations can be funded to the tune of however much that dollar amount will bring us into closure. That's what the bottom line is. We're talking about reparations for the sons and daughters of freedmen. I'm not talking about giving everybody everything.
Right. Okay. So you know what? That point is probably true. I can agree with that. But the issue is who is going to pay for that ultimately? Because you're saying, well, hey, we can borrow as much as we want to pay reparations. That the government can fund. Fund reparations.
We just went over the whole thing, bro. We just went over it.
Let's do it. Let's do a check on learning.
Who is paying? This is the question.
Let's do a check on. Let's do a check on learning. Right. Let's do a check on learning.
Right.
For one, the who that is not paying is the individual citizens of the United States, because one, the individuals of the United States do not fund the federal government. The reparations is a grievance that is filed with the United States government, more specifically Congress, because Congress has control over the purse. Congress is where democracy lives, because those are the representatives in this democratic republic, right? They represent us by their various districts and states. You understand? So through a democratic will to a vote, Congress will have the United States government, which is not any individual. It's a world power with monetary sovereignty. The United States government will pay for it, just like they pay for countries around the world's problems. We give foreign aid to countries around the world in the trillions of dollars every year. And who's asking who pays for that shit? You understand what I'm saying?
No, I know who pays for it. The taxpayers pay for it.
No. Now,
dude, we just told you. We've been talking about this for 20, 30 minutes. We just told you, bro.
Let me ask
you.
But
like I said, I'm slow, so I didn't get like a clear answer.
Bro,
but I got you.
You're not slow. You just want to be slow.
I understand.
You want to be slow.
I deal with slow people all the time, but it's cool, right? Check it out, right, Nani? Your taxes may fund your municipality that you live in, and they may be a significant part of your state budget. But hear me and hear me clear, right? I'm gonna say it slow. Tax dollars do not fund the United States government. The federal government spends before it taxes, right? And it does not borrow in currency that is not of its own, right? So that's like me taking money out my left pocket and putting it in my right pocket. I borrowed money from my left pocket, put it in my right pocket. So if I have to take money from my right pocket and put it into my left pocket, it's still going to me. So I don't owe somebody in the nature that you feel like, we owe somebody. We don't owe any foreign nation, right? We don't borrow money in foreign currency. So we have everything that we need. The taxpayers, right, pay taxes so that the government can regulate how much currency is in circulation. And it gets deeper. It deals with the overnight interest rate and things like that, right? But we don't have to get that deep because it's a very simple concept. You got your money from the government. It's preposterous to think that you could fund the government with the same damn money that they just gave you. It don't make no sense. So if you just slow down and think about how could you be funding someone, that's like I gave you some money and then you telling me that you're funding me by giving me that money back. That doesn't make sense, brother. Now you have to be more intelligent than that.
Well, the government.
I have a question, Nani. I have a question. What country would you say that is an enemy of the United States of America? Right? Like, and I don't mean Russia. Let's talk about some Middle Eastern countries where, we might find some atrocities, etc. But which countries would you say?
I'll start with, I don't know if they're number one, but I would say
they don't have to be number one. Just name any offhand.
So I'll go with Iran. And what was disturbing to me, remember our Twitter exchange? You had, they were talking about Kendi, Henry Rogers, right? That's his real name. This guy going by his, fake made up name. But anyway, so he proposed basically to have the same system they have in Iran with an Ayatollah. So he wants a band of race professors who are going to decide if any law or anything can go through. That's crazy to me. So instead of us, and these guys are unelected, that's what he's proposing. So to me, the biggest thing above reparations, and if you remember that conversation, the way it was going down, it wasn't just simply about reparations. It was about building a system that guaranteed that these people will have complete control over everybody. I'm not supporting that, man. A check is one thing. A check is one thing. But to say that you're going to create this group of unelected officials who will have absolute power, unelected, to say, look, this law, we don't like it, get rid of it. Who are they? This is what they want to do. That's crazy, man.
Yo, bro, I don't have no idea.
No, we were talking. He switched it up, man.
Go ahead, Ali.
Kendi is a historian. He's somebody who's been dealing with, publicly, he's been dealing with this whole critical race theory matter in some of his writings and stuff, and he's getting a lot of pushback from right wingers at this point. But Kendi's not necessarily talking about reparations. And what he's his own man. He speaks very well. He's a very articulate, intelligent dude. He can represent himself. We're not here to represent Kendi and his thoughts. So that has nothing to do with a federal reparations program. With him talking about a government established in a way where you got ayatollahs and shit like that, has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Where is Nani? Where are you from, bro? I'm detecting the accent. Where are you from?
He doesn't want to say for whatever reason.
You don't have any pride?
No, it's embarrassing. It really is.
Well, so why is it embarrassing?
I'm from the ghetto of America, the bottom
let me ask
the bottom.
Something.
It don't get no more embarrassing.
Let me ask you, Nani. You're so embarrassed of where your lineage comes from that you won't even utter it out of your mouth, but you want to debate us about a topic as precious as reparations? How do you think that makes sense in your own mind?
Well, I mean, look, we were having a conversation about that went over a lot of things, and Naheem, he remembers it. So, it got into how it wasn't like I said, it wasn't just about a check, which I disagree with too, but we weren't even just talking about a check. These guys were saying that they want to make sure that forever that blacks and whites have the same wealth no matter what.
Well, I don't think that my brother said that.
And that's Kendi. That's exactly.
We didn't say that.
I don't think
that.
Kendi is his own man, bro.
You were liking all their comments.
Your argument was,
Nani, where you from, man?
Wait, hold on, Logic. His argument was that inequality has been central to civilizations for years. So
true. That's true.
People, no, that is true. And so that our people basically, and I said this to him in a tweet, should remain at the bottom. We shouldn't fight for reparations.
That's silly, though.
That he believes that this inequality is somehow divine.
So okay, let me think. I don't believe in things. I don't believe in equality myself. But what I do believe is justice, though, Nani.
That's
do
right.
You believe in justice?
Absolutely.
You can't. And have that, because your position against reparations is contradictory to justice. Do you know that?
It's about perspective.
No, it's not.
I'll tell you why.
These are all the people that the United States of America pay reparations to. It starts at 1700 all the way from 2010 to the present. An historical timeline of reparations payments made from 1783 through 2021 by the United States government, states, cities, religious institutions, universities, corporations, and communities. So basically what you're saying is that you don't want us to get ahead. You want us, like the white Republicans, the neo-Confederates, to remain at the bottom because they gave all of these people, all of them, reparations. This is the list. I'm going to put it in the inbox, and then I'm going to put it in the back private chat so that you can read it and go over it. You don't realize that you've come to this country. Wait, hold on. You've come to this country, and you've looked down upon my people.
Yes,
absolutely not.
And yes, you follow white supremacists. White supremacist talking points, and you want us to remain at the bottom, which is why you're fighting against reparations. So we're going to help you out today. That's our job, to help you today.
That's right. Now, Nani, you need to be listening. I don't understand why you're so stubborn, stiff-necked, and abstinent. Right? We're giving you good teaching right now. You should be overjoyed to get this education. I don't understand people like you, right? We have teaching you things that you've never heard and that you don't know, right? Because you're even like we are patriots. You understand? Not only are we patriots, we are foundational
do you love
this
America?
country. Huh?
Do you love America, right?
Why, my ancestors built it with their flesh and bone. Why wouldn't I love it? That would be foolish. You may not love it because obviously you're not from here. So I understand that. I understand that. I'm not mad at you for that.
So you love America. I love America. You love America?
Of course. Why wouldn't I?
Well, can you say it? It would be nice to hear it.
Would it?
Absolutely.
You know what would be nice to hear, Nani?
What would be nice to hear?
For you to tell us where the hell you're from. I need to know.
That's right. And a thank you, because if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't be here.
Yes,
your
that
family
part.
wouldn't be here.
And a thank you, because if it wasn't for us, not only would our what they like to call the black diaspora be over here from the Caribbean and Africa and all over the place, but none of the other immigrants. You need to thank me and my ancestors, right, for creating civil rights in America. Can we get our flowers? You understand? Because my ancestors didn't get theirs. You understand? We created the first Civil Rights Act in 1866 and the subsequent Civil Rights Act in 1864, right? Can we get a thank you? Nobody wanted to come here while Jim Crow and lynching was going on. And let's understand, reparations is not just about slavery. More importantly, it's about the several over a century of public subjugation laws where we were in a democratic republic, paying taxes like you like to talk about so much, right? And not being able to access the public libraries and not being able to access the public roads because of sundown laws, right? Not being able to interject our political will because of the voting rights restrictions and the literacy laws and everything. Like, do you know who Fannie Lou Hamer is, Nani?
Yeah, the name sounds vaguely.
No,
familiar.
no, so no, you don't. No, you don't.
Wow, see?
No, you don't. Woo. Right? So you are not in a moral position or intellectual position to come against reparations, Nani. You should be asking how you can help and contribute.
That's right.
That's what you should be doing.
And I'll tell you how I'm helping and contributing, because if you guys are paying attention to the actual leaders in this movement, the politicians.
What movement?
This whole well, look, what was this guy?
You're online with the lead.
Okay, wait, he's bringing up Dr. Darity. Let's hear.
Hold on, one second. Bring him up, but I just want Nani to understand one thing, right? Because he's confused again. You're actually on live with the leaders of this movement, so I don't know.
That's
who
right.
You're talking about when you say if we pay attention to the leaders of the movement, you have the honor and privilege to be on live right now.
That's right. And many of them are in our audience right now, and they're commenting. I'm pulling up the comments right now. You see many of them on the screen.
Yeah, it looks like they're loving me.
Yeah, they are. They are. So what were you about to say about Dr. Darity?
So what I'm saying is that these leaders and politicians, they're not simply, and trust me, they ain't gonna give you that. They ain't gonna give no kind of checkout.
So what they're talking about with Dr. Darity? You're jumping all over the place.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that what these guys want is a system that amounts to communism. And because of that, there will be no wealth for anyone. That's the problem.
Okay, so define communism. Break down communism.
So communism is a system where a bunch of people get together to steal and control from the rest of the population.
That's wrong. Come on.
That's exactly what it is.
Nani,
you don't know
we're
what
not
the
gonna
hell
do
you're
that.
talking about, man.
No, that's what it is.
No, Nani.
Venezuela, Cuba, Russia,
we don't
China.
Brother, listen.
You serious?
Brother, listen. We don't do ghetto scholarship on Be the Power, bro. When he asked you, do you know what socialism is? You should have just said no.
Communism.
You should have just said or communism or whatever. I thought you
it's
said
the same stuff.
No, it's not. No, it's communism.
Well, okay, what is it? What is it?
Communism and socialism have distinct differences. That's why they have different names, Nani. All right? It's not the same thing. And you don't understand that. So you shouldn't be speaking on things you don't understand. Let's
get into it. We'll get into that.
There's
let's get into that.
How many things do you want to get into when you haven't really graduated from the first thing? Nani? You don't even understand monetary operations. You want to talk about everything under the sun and understand nothing. It doesn't make any sense. And you still haven't told me, my brothers, or the public where you even come from. So we don't even know where your allegiance is tied into, Nani. Right?
Let's do communism and socialism.
No, let's talk allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America. Where are you from?
So you love America.
Where are you from? We going backwards. Where you going backwards? Where are you from, bro?
Irrelevant.
All right.
It is relevant.
Get him out of here, man.
All right.
It's
so
relevant.
Julian, hold on. Julian.
Yeah.
What do you got to share with us?
Oh, I'm just listening in, and I mean,
Julian is a Freeman.
BTP,
Freeman descendant.
the discussion is informative, and I'm just confused about why Nani is in this not wanting to get at the information. I mean, he seems like he's around a bunch of people who have information and sharing, and all he wants to do is say that what your information is not information.
But his opinion is certainly information that we all should be adhering to. That's what it seems to me anyway.
Well, yeah. I think I understand what you said. That you said he's asserting that the only correct opinion is his.
Yeah,
indeed,
basically.
Indeed.
What I see from where I'm looking at it, it seems like you have, certain, you play basketball, and you have certain moves that you work on, and a lot of people don't. Once you play tight D on them, you put the clamps on them, and you shut down their moves, they don't really know what to do. And so I'm just like, we cutting off your right hand and trying to make you go left, and you can't really just doing a lot of dancing. It seems like you're just trying to find a subject that you may have some knowledge on, but we keep like showing you that knowledge is wrong in these different subjects.
Rat hole.
Yeah, bro. So like that's
my jig's wet, bro. Keep bringing it. Let's do this. Let's talk.
Look, let me tell you, man.
It's a waste of time. It becomes a waste of time at a certain point, bro.
Yeah.
I would say like what aspect, what knowledge we know you have is knowledge of yourself. That's why it's important to state where you're from.
Well, okay. Well, let me just say this. Like one of the things I think it was Logic who said, don't quote me on that, was that I don't believe that I believe that black people should stay on the bottom. That's nonsense. I believe the way you get from the bottom is through work. You got to get the skills, the education, and if there's
wait a minute. Our whole history has been work.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Our whole history is consistent of work. We didn't do much playing.
No.
Thank you, Julian.
There's no need to let him finish.
Now we want to get paid.
Hold on. Let me just say this.
Go ahead, Logic. Go ahead.
Let me just say this, brothers. I've been gone for a long time.
Go ahead,
I've been
bro.
watching y'all put in that good work, and I'm inspired by my brothers. Let me get some. All right, now.
Go ahead, get some.
All right, now, not hard
and after
work.
you get finished with him, we can do what we want with
him. Do what y'all want with him. You understand? Yeah.
Sucker think he good.
So he think he good. You know what I'm saying?
He can whoop me.
Now check this out, right? Hard work don't do shit but make you tired. You understand? It's about recognition in this country. And we ain't got recognized for our contributions in this country that like we supposed to. And what am I talking about? It goes right back to justice. You understand? We built this country. Literally, not figuratively. I'm not saying that because it sounds cool. My ancestors.
Donald Trump said that shit. Donald Trump said it.
But a man shouldn't want recognition.
What?
We just man shouldn't want recognition, man.
Stop with we. Stop with we. Stop with we.
Yeah,
we don't know where you're from. We're
no. I just peeped his accent. He's. I think it's a Canadian. It's a hint of Canadian up in there. So I don't know if you in the Midwest or way up north.
Canadian.
He said he embarrassed Josh.
Yeah, nobody's embarrassed to be Canadian. He's probably like, where are you from, fam? Nani, can you please do us a favor and just tell the public where you're from? Are you a coward, Nani? Are you not a man?
Hey, I'm here debating what is this, 5?
No, you're not debating us, bro. Stop. You're not debating. You're not in any position to debate any one of us on here. You're on here as a privilege, and you should be honored to grace this stage to have a discussion. But you are not in a debate. A debate would feel very much different. So would you honor yourself by one being a man and telling us, right, and the people where you come from so we know who we're talking to? Is your character that low that you can't even be transparent with who you are and where you come from? That's simple shit, Nani. Come on now, bro. What we doing?
Well, I mean, it's irrelevant to the debate.
It's not irrelevant. We decide. Hold on, Nani. I don't know where you're from and how things go where you're from. But on this platform, our platform, we decide what is irrelevant, not you. And it's very important to us. Maybe it's not important to you where you come from, but it's very important to us where everyone comes from. And we would like to know. Now, will you disrespect this panel by continuing to withhold that information and dishonoring yourself? Or will you let us know where you're from?
Well, I get it. I don't like if I had a reason why it was relevant.
So honor and respect is not a reason. So you're content with being honorless.
I'm well, however you want to define it, I'm comfortable with my position.
So you're an honorless man. You don't have any honor.
Hey, yo, let's throw the old one at him. He's Phileas Nullius.
Yeah, you Phileas Nullius, fam. Nani, do you have children?
Nah.
I understand. Good. That's good. A man with no honor should not procreate.
I haven't found the right white woman yet, huh?
I bet you haven't. And you'll be looking for a long time.
No, she's out there. Go to CPAC. You go to one of them CPAC joints, you'll find her.
Candace taken, man. She would have been.
Yeah, Candace Owens is taken. Candace is taken. She likes the devil. She don't mess with dudes that look like
the devil.
I said Candace Owens is taken. She fucks with devils. She don't mess with people like you.
Who's the devil?
I said Candace Owens fucks with devils. She don't mess with people like you.
Oh, okay. So I'm good. I'm good.
Oh man. So look, I wanted to bring the brother on here tonight. This, it wasn't a debate, which most of these discussions are never truly debates. They're usually us schooling people by providing thousands of resources, and I just use that figuratively. But I'm just saying, man, I don't know where you're from. Some people are saying it sounds like you're from Trinidad. Some have called you the devil. And so
Hey, Nani.
Hey, man.
Let me ask one question. So since you won't tell us where you're from, can you
Right.
tell us what's so embarrassing about where you're from that prevents you from being transparent?
That's a fair question. That's fair.
I don't think it is.
Because he think we'll figure it out. All right, do y'all want to bring the white Canadian dude back on?
Yes.
GLMJ?
Hey,
Yeah, man.
Okay, let's bring him back on.
No. Listen, let's trade him out for Nani.
Whoa. Listen,
No, that's not cool.
man. I just want to listen.
Yeah, let's get Nani out of here, man.
Yeah.
All right, wait, yo,
No, that's not nice.
let Nani chill for a minute.
Yeah, we've all been good to each other, man. No, thanks for letting me back. No, I mean, I missed the last half hour, so I kind of left. I don't know if I was kicked for interrupting. That's fine. No worries.
I'll kick you out.
Yo, hold on. You said he was Naheem. You said he was white. He was European.
Yeah, from Canada.
Well, I'm from Canada. I am white technically. I mean, Canada doesn't really have that sort of classification in the same sense. That,
so you're saying the race classification system is not a reality in Canada?
What I'm saying is that they like the reality of like African descended people being a specific politically restricted class is not the same, obviously, in Canadian history as it is in the rest of North America.
But is the psychology the same?
The psychology is the psychology the same? I would say so. Yeah. So to that extent, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, in the same way that like you would classify yourselves as American descendants of American slavery.
No,
like we don't have that. We just have a mix. Like for example, black people in Canada.
Hold on, my brother. That's not how we classify ourselves. We are the sons and daughters of freedmen.
Okay, exactly. But the thing is, what I'm saying is, African descended people in Canada are just a mix of all sorts of different people with no one clear majority. So it's
that's well and good, and I appreciate that, and I understand the history of the liberal policies in Canada, and many of my ancestors fled to Canada for those same reasons. Right? And that's all well and dandy. So what is your position about, first of all, do you have friends, loved ones, or family in the United States of America?
Yes, I do.
All right. Are you willing to support a reparations program and project for the sons and daughters of freedmen?
It depends in what form it takes.
Why does it depend on what form?
Because the original topic in question was the fact that wealth, like my position originally, was that wealth gaps themselves should not be the basis for any sort of reparation scheme. The reparation should be because of a harm caused to people.
So if the wealth gap was caused by a harm by the government, local, state, and federal,
the wealth gap is not an itself
hold
a
on,
harm.
GLMJ. Let the question play out first, and then you can respond.
Yeah. You said we're gentlemen. So if the harm was economic in nature, right? So let's say, right, the government was through an act of homestead exclusively giving white citizens 160 acres of land apiece. And that was a federal program, and they through a concentrated effort excluded a certain group of the population from accessing that particular federal grant. Would you say that was a harm? Or
it was. It was, yeah.
Okay, let me ask you another question. So let's say the government or the government allowed banks to have a policy to say that any particular group fitting a certain particular characteristic, right? If they move into a certain area, we will not back any loans, and we're going to make sure that that wealth in that area is depleted totally, right? And we're going to create maps, and wherever any one of these particular individuals live, we're going to create it red, and that way all the banks know not to back and support any area that's in red. Would you say that that's like a concentrated effort to hurt a specific group of people? Would you call that a harm?
Yeah, I call that a harm, yeah.
All right, cool. So let's say that the state government and the federal government knew that like thousands of individuals were being hung, killed, decapitated castrated, burnt, skinned, right? Sold at
defrauded, stealing their land.
No, hold on, Josh. Right? Being hung, like, and literally killed, right? Right? And like and these hangings were being held in the public with the mayor there, with the chaplain there, with the teachers, the firemen, the sheriff, the marshal, and everybody was there, and they just like barbecued niggas, right? Would you say that that's like a harm inflicted?
You don't need to tell me that that blacks in America were persecuted, and we can go into.
So is that harm not compensatable?
No.
No, like I
Did
said,
those harms serve to create the wealth gap?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the after effects. The harm. Look, it's like my example before. If someone runs over you with their car, and you cannot work as a result of that, and as a result you have technically lost wages or just lost earning capacity, it doesn't entitle you to half the difference between the person who harms you's wealth.
So you don't have insurance. We never auto insurance.
But listen,
what he's saying. I just want to say this real quick.
Yeah,
he's saying he doesn't have auto insurance that will fight on his behalf.
It's just an analogy.
I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying. But that accident. So that's a non sequitur argument, right?
That's right.
Because that argument wasn't predicated. See, you can't use that argument, right? Because that argument wasn't based on suppressing this man's wealth and elevating yours.
That's right.
Understand?
Come on, brother.
So when we have listen, right? So when you have government policy like the Federal Housing Administration only giving certain people access to these loans, that is elevating a certain group's wealth, right? And depressing another group's wealth. When we have homestead acts that are only accessible to a certain group, right? But everybody else is paying the same amount of taxes, going to war, dying and killing the same rates and all of that shit, right? That's elevating a particular group and suppressing another group. It's not like an accident and crushing the motherfuckers.
I'm not saying it. I'm saying deliberately. Even if someone deliberately runs over their car.
No, stop. We got to stop with the car accident shit, because that's not stopping what that's a non sequitur argument, right? I'm talking about a policy that elevates a person's wealth in a democratic republic where every citizen should have access to any federal policy, but it concentrates its policy on locking out a specific group and giving access to a specific group, elevating them in land acquisition, right? And suppressing another group. When they cut off a certain group's ability to participate in democracy by way of vote, you understand, and allow others to interject their political will into the localities, the state, and the federal government, while killing people at the voting booth, that is a harm that's done. That's not comparable to a car accident. So when we say we're looking at it at the wealth gap, we want to start with the wealth gap. So when the federal government owns my ancestors, right, and builds this nation off of their labor and their sweat equity, and they say, okay, in this certain region, we have a field order 15, right, that we're going to give 40 acres in a mule to, or basically be 10 acres to each family of 4 and a working animal, right, to these individuals. And then you have a president who takes all of that back, right, and gives people who waged war against the United States the very land that the government gave to these people back to the people who waged war, committed treason against the land, against the Union, against the Constitution, right? That elevated wealth. When you kill a man in a land where the man is the breadwinner and women don't have access to jobs and income, and in many states and many situations can't even own property and land. When you kill a man, you understand, you destroy a family's wealth. You understand? And when that man is killed by the state where the mayor and the sheriff and the marshal and the teachers and the chaplain and everybody's there, that's state sanctioned, and they participated in the killing, the lynching, and the murdering, that's a state sanctioned, government sanctioned murder. and they destroy the family's wealth. When you kill a whole entire community of people, you've destroyed the people's wealth. When you create sundown towns, you destroy the people's wealth, and the government has sanctioned that. So if you have a good sense of justice, how can you say the wealth gap is not somewhere we should be looking at when we're talking about executing justice? You don't have a good sense of justice.
Can I respond?
You can respond. Just let me just clear one thing up, brother. And please hold your thought, because I've been holding to say this. I think your view of the wealth gap as how we're able to judge a successful reparations project is a little misguided, because I think you're looking at it like we're trying to trump up some large number to meet some arbitrary, because we said, oh, this is what the average white households worth, so the black households need to be worth that. I think you're looking at it like we're trying to trump up a number and like raise a number up to an arbitrary height, as opposed to we're actually giving, that's actually a discount. If you go and look at if you want to really like tally up what is owed, like if you're able to do that, I mean, economists have done that. It's not even a feasible number that even can be paid. So what we're saying is with the closing of the racial wealth gap is that is something that we can actually measure, because at a minimum, we're talking about at a minimum.
Yeah, no, that's
we are Americans,
and that's only dealing with the monetary side of reparations. Reparations is about restoration, justice, and healing, right? So it's not just about money. It's also about everything that, like, so if a group of people who have paid taxes in this country since the formation of the republic, but were not able to access all of America in full citizenship, should have a tax break. We should have a few decades of no taxation at all. You understand?
That's right.
People who have been violated and victimized by the American banking system, like the sons and daughters of freedmen, should have free access to banks and no interest loans. You understand? There's a lot of things that could go. People who have been locked out of ownership, right? And contracting, you understand, should have access and set aside for specific American capitalist things. You understand? For a long time. You understand? For a long time. You understand? So it's not just about the money. Don't get fixated on the money. It's not just about that. But in a capitalist society, we're going to start with what matters most. And that's the goddamn capital. You understand? We're going to get some money out this damn thing.
So if you want to hear my response or not, I don't know.
I do. But
so you're done? Okay.
I really want to keep talking to you. You understand? I really want to keep talking.
Because
I want you to understand.
He doesn't want to understand, but we're gonna let him respond.
But if a car accident,
I'll start with one question.
This is the last thing I'm gonna say, and then you can talk and then talk. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. You use the car accident analogy. The only way that makes sense is if that car accident, you use the broken legs analogy. If that broke my legs, and then every person that was born in my bloodline after me, legs was broken, then your car line analogy would make sense and would fit in this particular discussion, because that's what our relationship with the United States government is. It's generational. You understand? So it didn't just hurt one group of people. What they did to us inflicted generations and generations and generations. So now you have to look at it through those lenses. And I'm done.
Okay. First, a question. If it so happened that, and it is the case, obviously, for a good number of Black Americans, they are today well off than the average American, well off than, let's say, 90% of Americans.
They
to
what?
what extent?
I know Josh gonna get him. Josh gonna get that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Say that again. Say that again, bro. I want to
say it again. Repeat.
If you're predicating the program on gaps, the implication there is that the harm itself is the gap. But if there were, hypothetically, if there was no gap, then you wouldn't have a basis to ask for harm. But the harm was done. That's why my point is that reparations should be based on the harm. It doesn't go away because it doesn't exist or go away based on the amount of money the group of people have or the descendants claim to have. That's the point at hand. So if you want to say, okay, give a program, have a money set aside, that's fine. That's one thing. It's another thing to say, close the wealth gap. Benchmarking the need based on the gap. That's
so
the
you're
point.
saying it should be more. It should be more then.
No, what I'm
That's what
saying
he
is
really
it should be. I'm just what
It
I'm saying
has
is
nothing to
pick a
do with
number.
the
Why-
wealth gap.
Pick a number
but-
that's feasible.
But hold on,
and be done.
I really want to know, why is that such a concern though? Why is that a big problem?
no.
Why is that a deal breaker?
Because it's the
Yeah, I say
paradigm.
that
That's
the
what I'm
wealth
saying. What
gap
I'm saying is the
is
paradigm. When does it end?
evidence of the
If the-
harm.
Yeah.
It ends with the closure. So we
Exactly.
already stated
You're
when it
predicating
ends.
it on. You're predicating the harm on the
Liberal
existence of the
evidence of
wealth gap, but the harm was the persecution. It's not the gap.
Well, you
So
can't.
you're making the argument in favor of a higher
Well,
number than closing the racial wealth gap. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm
Josh,
making the
Josh,
argument for a number
Josh, hold on,
period that's
listen.
feasible, that's workable, and that's it. So it ends. That's the thing. It doesn't. It
But
could be a
listen,
one-off
but
program.
listen.
It could something that could last 10 years.
But
And that's it.
listen,
Go ahead.
hold on,
Yeah.
listen, right? You cannot, the government can't give back lives. You understand? So why would we say that the closure would be based on the resurrection of the dead, right? But we do know that this is a capitalist society, right? And the most good faith effort you could give in closing or bringing about closure in a capitalist society is with actual capital. Why is it with actual capital? Because that would give us the ability to do the things in a democratic republic it would take to bring about justice for our people. Reparations isn't the end all be all. Reparations is not the end, it's the beginning. You understand?
my
Okay.
Reparations is
Yeah.
the beginning.
So it never ends.
Yeah, it never. Yeah, not only does it never end, but no, you're predicating the need on the gap. That's the problem. The need is based on the harm.
No, it's not my fault though. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not our fault that they used us to build wealth in
created
America.
the gap.
That doesn't matter. That's irrelevant.
No,
The harm is the harm. You're saying
That's not irrelevant. That's not irrelevant.
Mute his. Matter of fact, you can never. You don't even have. You're Canadian. You're a Canadian white supremacist. Number one. You're a Canadian.
Nani,
Dude,
we're gonna mute
you don't know my
too, bro.
No,
we're gonna
let's
mute
get you
too.
up out of here. I don't need to.
You're not telling us either. So how are we supposed to?
Nani,
You don't come on camera. You don't tell us sit back.
You want to play peekaboo and hide and go seek?
No, that was the JMLJG, whatever his name was. But
I said almost over an hour ago if they could turn the cameras on so we could see who we're talking to, man.
Yeah. So the harms created the gap.
Yes, we're targeting.
Let's pick one. Nani, you've not even read a book on the subject. Chill for a minute. Let's deal with not redlining. Let's deal with the GI Bill. Let's pick one. Let's pick one out of the many. The GI Bill. So what happened with the GI Bill was the United States of America gave these bills so that people returning home from the war could basically start a life anew. This was a gift, a reward from the United States government for going to fight on behalf of the country.
It's called an entitlement because through your service, you're entitled to these benefits.
That's right. And the black people were excluded out of this bill. Many of them. I'm not going to say 100%, but many of them. We're going to stick with that one.
I give you an example.
Wait, hold on, John.
In Mississippi, go ahead.
What wound up happening, Nani, is that let's just say it was 2,000 black men. 2,000. I'm just throwing a number out there. They came back from the war. They only gave 100 of them the GI Bill.
Okay.
The 100 of them couldn't even go live in the neighborhoods that they wanted to live in. No Negroes allowed. So even with the bill, they were forced to live in these ghettos that were being created by the government.
That's right.
This is a historical fact. This is a historical fact. Now, let's deal with the other 9,800. I don't even know if my number is right. I'm confusing myself with the numbers. I mean, I said 2,000. So
I'm with you. I'm with you.
You with me? The other
1900,
1800, 1800,
yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Other 1800.
Bro, hold up. I gotta pause you real quick because you said let me give you an actual number.
Talk
In
to me, teach, guys.
1947, Mississippi had, I think it was 3,000 or 3,500 GI Bill recipients that they had in the state of Mississippi, and I believe it was only 2 or 3 that were
Cato
black
just said it was
recipients.
60,000.
60,000 whites. I mean, 60,000. 2 out of 60,000 freedmen got it. So let me finish with the example. So now, had these people, Nani, our people, our ancestors, have gotten access to what white folks got access to, let's just deal with that number, 60,000. Think about this. They would have been able to build generational wealth that they could have passed on to their children, that their children could have passed on to their children, which leads us up until this day. This is what we mean when we say the harm created the gap.
It's not generational wealth. Is not just passing homes to people.
That's right.
People use those homes also to fund their education.
That's
people
right.
use those homes as collateral sometimes to start their businesses. So they could have been developed. These are lack of opportunities to get access to loans, because we know as business owners that in order to get loans from bank, you often have to have collateral. And without the collateral, and a lot of times that collateral was our people's homes that they were able to put up. Without having those homes that have the right value, without the collateral, you can't get access to the loans. There's report after report after report of why Black businesses consistently fail in this country, why so many of them will fail, 80% of them fail within the first 18 months of opening. And that's because a lack of capital. And Citibank put out a whole report talking about how this economy has lost trillions of dollars due to racist activities against Black Americans specifically. Trillions of dollars lost out of the economy because of the racism perpetuated against our people. So understand, no matter which way you turn to try to look at this thing, we're going to be able to show you like it says, the cost of racism in this country. It's not only hurting Black people, it's hurting the United States economy. Lost 16 trillion, and this is just over a certain period of time that they're doing
from the year 2000.
They're not even going back into reconstruction.
That's right.
Forward.
So what you're saying is that I guess you're saying white people hate Black people so much that they would prefer to lose $16 trillion rather than just do what's right. To me, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Well, it don't have to make. Listen, Nani. It don't have to make sense to you. The sky being blue may not make sense to you, but that shit's still blue, Nani. You understand?
And you got to keep in mind that 16 trillion. A lot of that will be coming to us. You know, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And so because you're not from here and you don't have a good understanding on racism, right? And you don't have a good understanding on Americanism, that may seem preposterous to you. Like, how could these good white folks hate niggas so much that they would miss out on 16 trillion? Because they don't give a fuck, Nani. That's why. You understand?
No, but hold on. I understand.
Stupid. If you understand, stop playing stupid then.
No, but what I'm saying is that I spent a lot of time, first of all, trying to figure out racism, what it is, what it means. And I've come to the conclusion that there is no such thing as racism. It doesn't exist, never existed, and will never exist.
Nani, you fucked up.
Where the hell you get that dumbass logic from, bro?
Yeah, that you fucked up.
Where you get that from?
You know what you sound like, brother?
What do I sound like?
I gotta be honest. Hold on. This is what you sound like.
Could white folks ain't that bad.
I knew you was gonna play that.
I'm so happy. I just do my happy dance.
That's what you sound like, dude. You sound like a tap dancing coon from another country, man. Look.
Okay, but can I explain why though?
We don't give a fuck.
We don't
Get this nigga out of here.
Bye,
Get this nigga the fuck out of here.
Bye.
Fuck.
Peace.
Hold on. Hold on. Fuck Nani. You understand? Fuck that nigga. He don't give a fuck about my ancestors.
That's
he don't
right.
give a fuck
That's
about
not
America.
True.
He don't give a fuck about
Nah.
reparations. Fuck Nani. And that the nigga don't know nothing anyway. You understand?
That's
so
right.
why we talking to this nigga in the first place? Fuck him.
Oh man.
Yo, my man was on here.
Kadink, kadoo. White folks ain't that bad. Kadink, kadoo. Look at that. Look. I'm so happy. I just do my happy dance.
But you ain't got the part where he was talking about jobs. You think we got jobs?
Oh no, I just used that. I just used that clip. They gave us jobs. That's just what this dude sounded like. And I was gonna pull up this article, the one that said it would take 228 years from working alone, meaning white people would have to stop everything. It would still take us 228 years for us to catch up to them by just working alone. Like that guy is a white supremacist graham cracker, and we got to call them for what they are. The other guy from Canada was another white supremacist. Right-wingism has been prevalent in this world for a long time. It is pervasive. It is global. You find white supremacists all throughout Europe, right-wing fascism, all throughout Australia. They all support and agree with the one fascist president that we had, Trump. And secretly, they agree with Jim Crow, Joe Biden, and his policies that keep us at the bottom and the Democratic Party's benign neglect. That's why they get so befuddled when they come up against the BETHEPOWER reparationists, the descendants of freedmen, the united sons and daughters of freedmen. Because like we always say, we are not liberals, we are not conservatives, we are not Republicans, we are not Democrats, we are not progressives, we are not centrists, leftists, etc., etc. We are reparationists. Point blank, period. We different. And anybody coming on this platform to debate us on the issue of reparation is gonna die a slow, hard death over a 2-hour period. Bring your best. Bring them. Bring Soul himself. Bring them. Bring Hughes, McWhorter, Ben Shapiro. We are calling all of them out. Bring the whole crew from, Turning Point USA and PragerU. Bring the Queen of the Damned, Candace Owens, on herself. She will get done the same exact way, period. The same exact way. So we're over the 2-hour mark.
Shout out to the OG, man. I don't know.
Yeah, Julian.
Brother, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't catch who you was, but shout out to you, brother. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. So we got some guy in the chat named Canders Spot. He's been trolling. I don't know if that's the guy we just had on there.
Yeah. Saying Thomas Soul 91. Bring him on here. We might, bring him on here. He 91.
91.
Let us get his. Let us.
Yeah. Let us retire.
We had old people on here before.
We don't discriminate.
We don't discriminate.
We don't do age discrimination over here.
That's right.
We have freedmen elders on speed dial.
That's right.
That's right.
That would jump on here and give Thomas Sowell the intellectual thrashing that he so sorely needs for the public to see. These people at the top, they do not want to have the debate. They don't want to have the conversation. That's why I keep saying, yo, on the last stream, I was like, get this video to Brother Kwame Brown. I love what Brother Kwame Brown is doing. I love the fact that he's exposing a lot of the go along, get along gang. But you can't expose one portion of the go along, get along gang in the Democratic Party and try to push them into the go along, get along gang of the Republican Party. That's where we're going to bump heads. That's where we're going to bump heads. And this is in an attack. This is a call to have the discussion.
They said the dude in the chat is 90.
Yeah, I see. Definitely. I mean, it is what it is. They're going to support everybody that's with the right wing. So this dude is saying Kwame is a real brother. Let me pull that up. Kwame is a real brother. You know what else he is?
He is.
He's a descendant of freedmen. He's a descendant of freemen. I like the brother Kwame. I love what Kwame Brown is doing. But when you start dealing with Candace Owens, Larry Elder, Thomas Sowell, Angela Stanton King, and all of these right-wing puppets that go along, get along gang for the neo-Confederates, e.g., the Republican Party, that's where we're going to have an issue at. And I'm guaranteeing, because we could talk about the programs and all of the things that we need. I love that. Talk about coding, et cetera, et cetera. That's not going to close the racial wealth gap. Not at all. But it's a program that we need. I would say we do need coding and STEM training in our neighborhoods because we're not getting that stuff.
Yes.
And we can't keep running to education as this Band-Aid. You can't put a Band-Aid over a 6-inch gaping wound. Period. You need stitches. You got to clean the wound first. Number one, you got to deal with the infection. What is the infection? Contagions to wealth. That's what we have been made. People that they created as contagions to actual wealth, which is why there's calcification among white Americans and calcification among only a certain group of African Americans that got money. So it's easy for them to look down and say, why don't you pick yourself up by your own bootstraps, bootless person? And we're here to say we're not having that because we know that if you have no boots, you cannot pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Period.
And
so we're fighting to get our people.
Even if you try to pick yourself up by your bootstraps, you break your neck.
You're gonna fall over.
Them people up at the top because we lifted them up there.
That's right. We was always the floor that everybody get to build a foundation on, and they don't want that foundation being uprooted. So look, our justice claim has nothing to do with your ideology or your delusion that racism doesn't exist. Like that's not part of our argument. So when you come to a conversation with real reparationists, you need to be armed with actually studying the topic that we're talking about so that you can have an intelligent conversation. We shouldn't be telling you who Fannie Lou Hamer is. We shouldn't be telling you, about redlining and
Josh, this dude didn't know who Fannie Lou Hamer was. You don't even have a right to have a conversation about nothing involving my people. Nothing at all.
And the art. So what happens is a lot of times they try to run to whatever the go-to talking points are. Like, and that's that. There never was racism. That doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. That doesn't. You stop just going to your go-to moves. Like I said, let's talk about what the subject matter at hand is. Stop trying to just divert to what you know how to talk about because you watched 100 PragerU videos.
Yeah, but my man said, "Yeah, Fannie Lou Hamer. That sound familiar. That automatically disqualifies you, goofball. You a goofy, right? You got the heavy accent, right? Which means you already should be coming with a specific type of energy because you're not one of us. You understand? And it's disrespect to be talking to us on a matter as serious as reparations and justice for our ancestors who built this country, who had to live through this specific persecution, to be talking to us as if though you are some important voice in the matter. That's disrespect. You know what I'm saying? Like you could get fucked up for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're like talking to us like your opinion matters when you don't have no bones buried in this soil in America. You understand? None of your ancestors built America. They didn't get lynched. They didn't get raped here in America. I don't know what happened in Canada, and I wouldn't even have the audacity to position myself to speak on Canada history and politics. That's not my position. That's not my place. I wouldn't do that.
Global white supremacy.
Yeah. And if you were talking Canadian history, I'd be quiet because that's not my lane.
That's
you
right.
I definitely and damn sure wouldn't be arguing with you about this shit. You know what I'm saying? But these people, no matter where they're from Canada, right? From Africa, from the Caribbean, from Mexico, from Cuba, from the Dominican Republic. It don't matter where they're from. They all think they can come here and argue with us about our goddamn history.
It's crazy.
It's so crazy.
And now this idiot is in the chat talking about there's no such thing as white supremacy. Like, we have a book. Listen, being that you don't read, hold on, let me blow me up real quick. Hey, Nani in the chat, I'm gonna call you a foreigner. This is a book right here called The Bloody Shirt. Bloody Shirt. Get it if you're interested in learning, because it don't seem like you're interested in learning about anything, but we books over here. We got a lot of them. And in this book, they highlight the many times that the racists stood on the congressional floor, the House floor, I should say, and spoke about white supremacy, spoke about preserving it, spoke about preserving it. This fear of Negro rule they use to box us out of the political, the seats of political office. You don't know what you're talking about. You're ignorant. Well, if you love books, then here's a book for you, The Bloody Shirt. Get it and read it and start studying the history of my people and take several seats in the back of the class. Don't even comment on the Twitter thread no more. If you do, I might even block you because you're not even one of us. I'd rather have this discussion with a white American, right? That's against what reparations. It's not some Canadian white supremacist like the last guy that was on there, and not some graham cracker like Nani that's not even from here. So we would have the debate with white Americans and black Americans who are descendants of freedmen, using those black and white terms. So it is what it is, man. And,
but this goes to show you that, number one, programs like PragerU and Turning Point and etc., they do a good job at reaching a lot of the people in other foreign lands or other foreigners to infect them with the illness and the virus of white supremacy. And because there's already the tendency to want to, to step on our group and maintain our group as at the bottom and perpetuate the propaganda, like spread the propaganda that to make us fight against anything that would be uplifting and beneficial for our group politically. So they're doing a very effective job at it's kind of like already know people like the smell of alcohol or something like that. Somebody's prone to do something anyway, or people like the smell of funnel cakes or cotton candy or fried onions and green peppers or whatever. So you just putting that all over the place so they can smell you bringing them in. And then you just that's how it seems that they're doing in terms of they already want to access whiteness. They already have an affinity for whiteness, and they understand it's what's built into whiteness is blackness at the bottom. So it's like you're just reinforcing it, but they're doing a good job of reaching new markets and tapping into new markets. It's unfortunate, and if and brothers like Nani, if we want to call them that. Stop trying to say our and us and all that. You haven't even told us where you're from, bro. Right. You haven't told us where you're from.
You are not one of us.
Yeah, and you gotta if you're way more versed in white supremacist propaganda and Thomas Sowell and these other people, and you're not versed at all in any of the freedmen history, you gotta ask yourself, was I propagandized? Did they get me? So you can look at it as an attack on you, but what you really need to do is go in the mirror and ask yourself, damn, am I a victim of white supremacy again?
That dude got all his mirrors covered up, Josh.
Yeah,
all
you
the
won't.
Mirrors is covered up.
You won't, but hey, you should.
Hey, brother Julian, we're gonna get up off here, but you got anything you want to say?
Yeah, just thanking you for the exposure and the detail of the conversation. I learned a bit, quite a bit actually. I believe I was logic basically I've been exposed to what's it called now? Modern monetary theory.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's what Logic was describing there.
That's right.
So
We're gonna subscribe to the channel. We're gonna
yeah,
have
I
our
am.
brother. Okay, cool. We're gonna have our brother Logic come on and do a whole like episode on basically that topic. He's gonna go into detail. We're gonna be taking questions. We're gonna be asking questions because we're getting more familiar with it ourselves in preparation for that particular stream.
Okay. Yeah, and thanks for the invitation and the thumbs up, the update. I'll join you if I can, because that's the
Definitely.
subject I want to become more familiar with.
Okay, definitely. We'll probably do that one day this week. So,
and like if I don't catch you live, I'll catch you on the YouTube, right?
That's right. You'll be able to see it. We have another channel as well. We're trying to get some people to come through and build. We got another one of our elders, our OGs. We trying to get him to do his own thing on that network. So that'll be great. That'll be really, really great. And
you talking about Otis by any chance?
Yeah, Otis. We're trying to get Otis to come on and do his thing, have his own segment, rock out, and we're trying to build both of these channels up. At the end of the day, the end goal is political, right? I've been watching the Game of Thrones. I'm 10 years too late, but I've just started watching it.
Oh man, it ain't too late to learn.
That's a fact.
Nobody.
And I'm intrigued because we've been talking. That's all this thing is. This thing is a Game of Thrones. This political system, and we've just been getting played the whole time. We are like the bastards of the series. We don't realize the power that we have. We don't realize that even as bastards, proverbially speaking, that we still have access to the throne, which is why the king tried to kill all of the bastard sons of the former king. The new king did, right? So, and this is essentially us. This is essentially us. And we, in many respects, are America's bastards in context to the series. And this is my opinion. I don't speak for everybody. I don't know everybody on my platform would agree with that. But that's my take on it. But we still have access to the throne. Any one of us could become the president. Any one of us could sit on that iron throne that is the Oval Office. Any one of us. So our political fight is different from so many other people, particularly in the space, particularly people that look like us and sound like us, etc., because we are policy centered. We are not politically partied centered. We focus on policies that's going to pull our people up out of this jam. We have a video on that other channel that I was telling you about, based on this book right here. It's so funny. This book was written by a bleeding heart liberal, Charles Blow. The devil.
Oh yeah, I got that.
Okay, so, and I've been thinking. I want to say this before we close out. I've been thinking the past week about the conversation we had. We interviewed Charles Blow on that other channel, and I thought about some of the people that were saying they didn't want to move from where they were. You see, I got my New York hat on. Every hat you see me with on says New York.
Oh yeah, because that's what he be talking about.
So I'm from New York, right? But I'm down here in the South.
Oh, okay.
And I was on my way back to New York. I was trying to do my thing and save up a few pennies to get back to New York to do politics until I came across this book written by this bleeding heart liberal who somehow jumped out of his body. That's a term we use. And he jumped out his whole body and wrote something, in my opinion, that was against the grain of his political frame of thinking. That being a Democratic National Party black caucus puppy. That's what I'd call him. I'd say to him directly. I would say that to his face. That's what I believe. I don't know if he would even disagree with me in that sense because he kind of says that in his book. Either way, we have people that are in the states and they saying, I don't want to leave my state. Our political lives are on the line. There was an old political philosopher by the name of Hobbes. I think it was Thomas Hobbes. I could be wrong on that first name. But he has an image, and I believe it's called Sovereignty. And in the image, it's the image of a man, and he's holding a sword in one hand. I can't remember what he's holding in the other hand, but the body is made up of the people, right? Let me see if I can pull. I want to pull that image up because I think that image is so important. The other image is a scepter. Let's see if I can pull this image up. I'm trying to make a point here. Right? Because we got to understand power. We got to understand this Game of Thrones, right? So this is the image that Hobbes drew up or had drawn up, right?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Now, I can't blow this up anymore. Let's blow this up. If you look real close,
of the torch.
Yeah, basically a scepter. The torch as a scepter.
Yeah, well, it's a flower. Flowery.
Can you see his body? Can you see what his body?
Yeah, I'm zoomed in on it. It looks like it could be a bunch of an armor made of people.
People, right? So what Hobbes is relaying in this image. This image may even be called Leviathan, if I'm not mistaken. What he's relaying in this image is that the body of the people are one. The body of the people are one. And for us, in our Game of Thrones, we must understand this. Our political lives are on the line. And Charles Blow, in that interview that we gave some dire projections about our political lives as a tribe, a distinct, unique tribe, the freedmen. And he said
that's good.
He said 30 years from now, the Asians will outnumber us. The Hispanics will double us. And if we have no political power now, because we are spread thin all across the United States of America, imagine what it's going to be like 30. That's been on my mind every day for the past week. As I thought about some of the people that said, I don't want to move from my state. I wear this New York Yankees hat because, that's where I grew up. So I'm familiar with it, right? I didn't grow up nowhere else. But at the end of the day, I'm a freedman. And soon I won't wear these New York hats no more. I'm going to only wear things that represent my people because essentially I'm not a New Yorker. Never been. I've always just been a freedman. And that's how we have to think, family. We have to think as one. We have to think as one. We got to start thinking that way. We don't own the blocks. We have the allegiance that we think that we have to these places is superficial at best. We represented housing projects that had the names of white folks. Who was Compton, right? Brooklyn is named after some Dutch guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Bronx, that's right. The Bronx is named after some place in Dutchland or with the Dutch. Harlem was named after some Dutch guy. You see what I'm saying? These places, they don't even bear our names. And that's what we represent.
That's what I'm talking about. Right.
That's right.
It's true.
So
I'm glad. I mean, I'm so impressed by your depth.
Oh, honest, thank you, man. We got Otis in the chat. Otis, we was just talking about you, man. We trying to get you on the other channel, live from the bunker with the OG Otis. You know, so yeah, man. We I seen that. Brian Smith said Sandy Darity shouted out to Friedman on the Black News Channel last night. I definitely seen that. Shout out to the OG Dr. Darity. His partner A. Kirsten Mullen. Like, we shout out the reparationists and the Freedmen. We are a movement. And the end goal is the throne and all of the small thrones leading up to the throne. And those small thrones are the mayor's seat, the governor's seat, the city council seat, hell, seats on the board of education. We have to start pushing our narrative, period. It must permeate everything. So when we see our brother Cato, who's running against Clyburn, and we see how he not ran up on him, I don't want to use that term, but you know, the term they use is pull up, right? And he started dropping it and dropping statistics, and he left Clyburn stuck. That's because we all basically think the same. We're all on a specific type of code that's not strewn with a bunch of conspiracy theories and a bunch of other nonsense, because we understand the game of thrones. And that's why we say on this program, don't just fight the power, become the power. And then, and only then, will you have the power to make a change. I'm gonna end it, but let me let the OG Julian say some more words to close out with anything he want to say. Then brother Josh. Yeah, go ahead, Julian.
All right, I'm down with the Friedman moniker as such, because I learned about our people's plight as a youngster in the school. I really had no, we didn't talk about that. We just kind of lived. You know, I grew up in D.C. and they talked a little bit about slavery, but then when they said that we had a Freedmen's Bureau, and the concept of freedmen grew in my mind, and when I saw that the Freedmen's Bureau had basically been dismantled and looted, I'm thinking, like, at what point were we free? And so then I saw Dr. King talking about we ain't even free enough to ride the bus. Well, sit in the seat where we want. And I said, that's a long time, and we still ain't free. So I just got all into understanding like what that means and how that's possible, as well as living my own life. And I mean, ultimately, if we want to put it in the practical frame of the words of our government, then treatment is certainly appropriate, because it was a promise that has never been delivered upon. And they've stated obligations to freedmen in that word. And so descendants of freedmen is appropriate to make a claim on those obligations. And I think that's a very good way to go.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
Because
I'm gonna go with you on that.
All right, let me say, it brings us back to the broken promises of Reconstruction. That's what it brings us back to. The broken promises of Reconstruction. That's what it brings us back to.
Well, you know what? I was just wondering, because I was thinking about this too. See, what we're doing is not really trying to keep or make the white man keep their word. What we're trying to do is break free of the white man's word. That's my goal in reparations. Because once you give me what you owe me, I ain't gotta listen to you no more.
I like that one.
See, and all these people citing laws like Noni and stuff, and the right wing, they citing all these laws and opportunities and stuff, but they never cite the fact that all the laws and opportunities are structured by white people. We were left out of the process. We didn't pass no laws about lynching white people or nothing like that, but they used their word to oppress us, and they backed it up with weapons and terror.
That's right.
And what they got out of us was basically, like they intended, all that of our human worth. That's why we were chattel. That's why we were property. We were economically genocided as soon as we got off the ship. We was no longer human in the minds of our neighbors and countrymen who exploited that. So these guys talk about I'm immigrating from Canada or whatever. We're immigrating from stockyards. What right does a cow have in the law? So we got to go.
That's right.
I mean, yeah. So to me, it's like reparations is about reestablishing our humanity. So like the money part is, if I work for you, you're going to pay me. Yeah, because I respect you as a man. So that's why reparations is necessary. It shows that we work for you and you paid us for our work. Now we're on the same par. We're repared. We meet the same qualifications of humanity that you do.
That's right.
And I think the only defense is a weak one that, we made y'all 2/3 of a man, so we only owe you 40%.
No doubt, no doubt. So look, we're gonna Brother Josh, you had anything you wanted to add before we get off air, bro?
3/5 of a man. That's thank you.
Yeah. Man, I just wanted to say appreciate everybody that got on the panel tonight, including the anti-reparationists. You allowed us to have a good discussion to go into a lot of different topics. We gave the people a lot of tools to be able to combat some of the right-wing talking points and anti-reparationist ways of thinking that pretty much white supremacy has allowed people to concoct, or they have propagandized people with. So hey, you have 100 ways to keep us at the bottom. Shouldn't you have some ways to do justice in America, which we are no longer cemented to the bottom? Like,
that's right.
Your paradigm of America shouldn't be Black Americans who are descendants of the freedmen are just the face of everything of dealing with poverty and everything that's depravities in society. Anything that's dealing with the worst extremes, whether it comes to violence, whether it comes to health, whether it comes to wealth, all that kind of stuff. We're the face of the bottom of that. That shouldn't be. That's the injustice of the history of America. And we're gonna get into. We got a lot more to get into. Y'all. So hey, ride with Be the Power. Continue to tune in. I mean, it's we got a whole lot. We only try to stay on here a couple hours max. We approaching the 3-hour mark now, but we could go into a whole lot more. We just try to like curtail it down and cut it down and prune it. Cause I mean, another thing as a reparationist, and I want to say this, and I'm gonna be out, right? You always got to be refining your game. You always have to be reading new material. because guess what? This enemy is fighting hard to maintain the system. You know, just like the Matrix. You know, Smith did not want to be defeated. He tried. He just made all kind. He had all kind of efforts to try to infect and get new Smiths and all this kind of stuff to maintain himself in the system. And so you have to find out. You have to understand that, and you have to arm and equip yourself to be able to defeat him in every attempt and that attack that he makes. So with that, I'm just gonna say you got to keep an F1 mentality. Peace.
F1 means Freedman first, family. I didn't even get a chance to bring up none of the charts. Before I close, I just want to bring this one thing up. Let me pull this up real quick. I pulled this up I think it was the last live stream we did. This is incomes. It's flying up the ladder. This is from Bloomberg. Let's blow that up a little bit. Hispanic incomes grew faster than those of any other group in recent years. So I want you all to pay attention to that. Look at that.
Oh.
Look at that, right? And this is just between 2014 and 2019. Hispanics and Asian, see, white wealth is already good. They're already the creme de la creme, right? So that means nothing really to them as a whole. As a whole.
Yeah, that's just growth.
But for us, that means everything. How is it? How is it that these people can come over here and surpass us? Hispanics and Asians. We built the country. We built it. I mean, we built the country, family. Y'all don't want to give us
sure we built it for them.
Huh?
They made sure we built it for them, and they want to keep it that way.
No, I want to.
That's why they let these people come in here and make more and do better than that.
Oh, definitely. But look, I want to share one more thing, and we're gonna get up off of here. Keep that graph in mind. Think about what I said with the Charles Blow interview. Go to the other channel, BTP Media Group. Go.
You said BTP what?
BTP Media Group. We're going to be probably changing that to Freedman University or the Free U channel, free.u channel to counter PragerU soon. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do that, free.u. But let me play something for y'all real quick. Now, keep in mind what I brought up from Blow in the interview about Hispanics doubling us. If we ain't got no political power now, 30 years from now, forget about it. And the chart that I just showed y'all. Let's play something real quick. Let me play something.
Obviously, the Latino community is the future of America. If you actually study the numbers, there was a very strong vote for Joe Biden in that. The message, part of our issue in the last election was that we could not go door to door. We could not go door to door.
I'm gonna let it replay one more time.
We will be able
so y'all can hear it
door
again.
to door next. But regardless of that, we should be paying a great deal of attention. And I'm so proud of our Congressional Hispanic Caucus for the work that obviously the Latino community is the future of America.
The Latino community is the future
if you
of America.
Study the numbers, there was a very.
Let's look at this chart. That this, I'm not a fan, too much of a fan of these immigrant black platforms, because it seems like they like to highlight our, dysfunction and trauma as a joke. But they correctly point out what's right here. Look at the Black American vote at 87% for Biden. But look at the Hispanic Latino vote, only 66%. Only 12% of our people voted for Trump, almost triple that amount at 32% of Hispanics and Latinos voted for Trump. How are they the future of the country? How? They never gave us a chance. They never gave us a chance to be the future of the country. Matter of fact, they said they will never The descendants of freedmen will never be the future of this country. We'll rather bring in other people, call them model citizens and model minorities.
Yeah.
We got to wake up, fam. Our political lives are on the line. So I'll leave y'all again with the platform's motto, and that is, don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.